Hold on. I'm laughing. I gotta wait for it to go live.
Yeah.
We're live now. You could hit it. Pause. Yep. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side Podcast. This is now episode 80. Riv and Jack are back. They've been on a hiatus. Well, Jack has been on a hiatus. Riv was here last Thursday. Jack caught quarantine, but this episode is going to be a really fun one. It's going to have some good topics that we're going to talk about, but also some funny topics. I think we'll have a pretty good laugh on this show. We're going to talk about if the Nets' current team is better than the KD Warriors, if the Lakers have a super team, if DeMarcus Cousins makes the Clippers contenders, and what Russell Westbrook's legacy will be. Then we're going to talk about Zion Williamson, Moses Brown's emergence, and Kevin Durant's beef with Michael Rapaport. For the football portion of the podcast, we're going to give an update on Deshaun Watson's legal situation, debate whether the Vikings can win the NFC North, and if it would be a mistake for the 49ers to draft Mac Jones. And then we'll finish off the show asking a question of whether Sam Darnold can revive his career. This is now episode 80, another, even number, I guess. Wow. Another zero. We're at episode 80.
Zero's not an even number.
It is. I meant zero at the end of the number. Wait, zero's an even number?
Zero's not an even number.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I'm almost positive it is.
I don't think it is. I don't know about that one.
Jack does look like the smartest guy on this panel, so I'm gonna trust him. But usually we get right into the episode, but I want to address something real quick. I'm thinking about getting off of TikTok.
So we have to. Okay.
Yes, this is a venting session for me.
Okay, go ahead. Do you think?
No, yeah, I'm thinking about getting off of TikTok because for some reason, I really feel like TikTok is filled with a bunch of kids, and I just don't think that's my lane. I don't know. TikTok has been very annoying, and whenever I read comments, it's very toxic to me. So I was thinking about getting off of TikTok because, for one, I don't feel like it's worth it. I feel like YouTube is way more worth it, and just trying to focus on that. I think that's more worth it than TikTok. Because TikTok, I wanted to get on it to build my following, but, I have like 6,000 followers now, like just about. And it hasn't helped in any other aspect. Like Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, it hasn't helped in any other aspect. And plus, I think I don't want to be in the lane of creating fast content. Because I feel like fast content, there's a lot of room for error in fast content. There's a lot of room for just trying to clickbait in fast content. I'd rather create long-form content that's kind of like this, like just podcasting, actually talking for a long period of time and giving perspective on a lot of different sides of whatever it may be, a situation. I just think fast content, it wears down on you quickly because you have to keep up with trying to always engage people, whether it be with like hot takes or just a very unpopular opinion.
I mean, listen, you just got to look at the comments on some of the videos that you post to see like what the TikTok culture is like. Like you said, it's just a quick content thing. Like it's definitely a much different platform than YouTube. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, just reading the comments, it's like TikTok's demographic is, I feel like there's a lot of stan culture. And stan culture exists everywhere, but I think stan culture in TikTok is very like toxic, especially because the majority of the people on the platform are kids.
Yeah, it's definitely a younger audience.
Yeah, but then again, that's just me being an old head, or me just thinking that TikTok is filled with idiots. It could be both. But okay, Jack is back from quarantine. So how was your quarantine period?
It was weird, man. Obviously at the beginning I wasn't feeling well. I went and got tested. It was crazy because I tested negative on a PCR test on Wednesday, which I didn't know at the time, but I would find out because it takes the 2 days. Then on Friday, I woke up with a very small fever. Mm-hmm. It got a little worse over the course of the day, so I went and got a rapid test. Came back positive. I really only had like 2 or 3 days of like bad symptoms. it was really a fever, and then like I had congestion for a couple of days. But then the last like half of it was really just me stuck in isolation. It got pretty boring. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you lose taste or smell?
I did, and I'm still just barely getting it back. It's the weirdest thing ever.
Well, it's good you're drinking water because it has no taste or smell. So you can't taste anything when you eat foods.
I'm starting to get just a little bit back, but like there was a time where I could not taste anything.
So what is it?
What did you eat?
Pause. What is it like? You know, like how does that feel? Like just chewing on food and.
Oh, it's the weirdest experience. So I had gotten Chick-fil-A the one day. Well, my sister got Chick-fil-A for me, and she brought it up to me, and I'm eating it. It's like I know exactly what it should taste like, and I love it. I love Chick-fil-A. It's like my favorite fast food.
Okay.
But it's just like you can feel like the texture. Your brain is like trying to tell you what it should taste like, but it's just nothing. It's the weirdest thing ever.
That's crazy. I can't get that.
Yeah, there was a one time that I woke up and I thought I lost my sense of smell. I didn't, but I thought I did.
The smell isn't as bad, just because like as much as you can notice it, it's not as noticeable as eating, because I feel like eating is a thing like you take your time to sit down and eat a meal, whereas smelling is just such a whimsical thing. Like it's not like you sit down and take time to smell something. You get what I'm saying?
I think that would hurt me in a sense because, like, when I stay up with my dog all night and we don't like to walk him sometimes, so we put the little wee-wee pads in the tub and we kind of just let him doodle in there. So if I couldn't smell, I'd be just sitting there and doodle would just be smelling all throughout the room. So it kind of sucked.
So Nassim commented, he was like, he heard about me and that I'm a fake Knicks fan.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not a fake Knicks
you're
fan.
100% Knicks.
If anybody knows me,
Oh
they know that I'm a James Harden fanatic. That's really it. If James Harden didn't go to the Nets, I'd be talking shit about him. Not gonna lie. I'd be making memes about him. I would be all New York Knicks.
Wait, but that has no, like, you haven't gave us evidence on why you're not a Knicks,
Why I am a Knicks fan.
You have not.
Yes.
Yo, I remember this. I would never forget this. I literally, I know, no cap, I was watching you for like 2 weeks. The Knicks were winning. You didn't say one thing about the Knicks, but the Nets were on a roll, and you kept talking about the Nets. So I was just watching. I'm just like, so the Knicks are winning. They're doing good. Julius Randle is balling. And Joel hasn't tweeted one time about the Knicks.
I tweet all the time about the Knicks.
No, you tweet all the time
Yes,
about
I
the
do.
Nets and James Harden. That's what I was like, yeah.
No, but yeah, I'll be honest. I'm a bigger James Harden fan than I am a Knicks fan.
Respectable.
But I'm still a Knicks fan. Like, once James Harden leaves, and I'll probably still be a Nets fan. It depends. I don't know. It depends on what type of team they have. If they have a bad team, I won't be a Knicks fan. Because the Knicks' future is looking better. Once we talk about these, once talk about these 4 or 5 years with KD, Kyrie, and Harden, when they're over, you guys are gonna be bad. You mean
you guys? You just said you were a fan. You guys.
I'm a Nets Harden fan. That's what I am.
Okay, I get it. I mean,
but I'm a Knicks fan. Even if, look, I'm a fan of just New York sports.
Oh my god.
I'm a fan of both teams. I don't have no problem saying that.
Okay.
I'm a fan of the Knicks. I'm a fan of the Nets. I got a Nets poster like behind me.
Let's stop with the Nets poster. Let's stop.
I got a Knicks jacket. I have it
always.
Yeah, you've been Joel, I've known you for a long time. You were bashing the Nets for a very long period of time.
I didn't know they were gonna get KD. I didn't know they were gonna get Kyrie. They were supposed to come to the Knicks.
Yeah, I remember that summer.
Yeah,
that was a wild summer for you guys.
We were supposed to get Zion,
KD, Kyrie.
But I rep the Knicks. I literally have a Knicks jacket to your right. I have a bunch of Knicks
like 6
clothing.
teams in here.
Yes, I do. I have the Jets. I have the Knicks. I have the Tampa Bay Bucks. See, somebody commented the other day and said, "How are you a Jets fan, but you have a Brady jersey?" I like both.
That.
I like both, and that's the thing. I'm just a fan. That's what I am. I'm a fan. I'm not a crazy diehard fan unless it's about James Harden, but
I feel you.
I like the Knicks. I like RJ Barrett. I was high on Randall. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I was high on Randall. He's starting to show out now.
You're a little better than me. I don't have a Golden State jersey in my crib. I don't have that. I would never get that.
That's because nobody on the team is deserving of it.
Word. I'm not even gonna acknowledge that. I'm just gonna let that slide.
If it was James Harden, I know you'd buy one if he was on the Warriors.
Nah, I only buy.
He's deserving of that jersey.
I only have 2 jerseys: a Michael Jordan jersey from it's a retro from his All-Star his North Carolina days, in the old All-Star games.
I have Kyrie's jersey from the Nets, and I have Harden's jersey. I just have to get Kevin Durant's jersey. I'm gonna get that next. Then maybe I should get Joe Harris. I'm thinking about Nicholas Claxton.
So you're just not gonna get a Julius Randle jersey?
No. The reason why I'm not gonna get a Knicks jersey is because this is the real reason why.
Okay.
The Knicks are unpredictable.
Oh my god.
And what I mean by that is
but
that
you just said their future looks brighter. So how? Like,
but don't.
you're just contradicting
If we're talking about their history, their Knicks are unpredictable. Even though their future is brighter, the Knicks switch players every damn year. So
I think that was with the old regime, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure what this new regime is going to do yet, though. Because
you see what they're doing now.
There's a chance Karl Anthony Towns is available, and now he's our guy, and Randall's gone. So Randall could be out of the Knicks in a year or two. Well, I'm not going to buy his jersey. Who else on the Knicks am I going to buy? Obi Toppin?
RJ Barrett. You were just talking about him before.
I love RJ, but there's a potential chance that he's
okay.
Wow.
So then, what about the Knicks' future is so bright when you're telling me
you
that
just said
these guys aren't even
because I
confirmed
trust
to be
what
on the
they're
team in the
I trust
future?
what they're building.
You just said Randall could be out in 2 years. So
but
could
you
Kyrie
don't trust what the Nets
and
have
Harden
built.
and KD.
Yeah, but the difference is that they're going to win a championship.
So you're jumping on the team that wins a championship.
No, I'm jumping on the team that I like.
You don't like the Nets. You just like the players. You don't like the Nets.
I like the Nets right now. I like Bruce Brown. Jack didn't even know about Bruce Brown until I told him, yo, there's this guy in Brooklyn. His name's Bruce Brown. He's pretty good.
Jack, you didn't know about Bruce Brown?
No, you didn't know about Bruce Brown. And I told you about him.
Here's the
actually,
thing, though.
you could go back and check the topics when I brought him up when we were talking about the Nets defense.
This the thing is that
You just caught, bro.
no, I'm not caught. This is the thing. The Knicks are unpredictable. I'm not sure who's gonna be there year to year. Like last year, let's say before RJ Barrett's rookie year, if I would have fell in love and bought a Ntilikina jersey, I would have looked like a fool right now. If I would have bought a Kevin Knox jersey after his rookie year, I would have looked like a fool right now.
But you
look at all the Knicks players over the past 5 years, like there's probably none that are on the team right now.
But
So
you
because
are
of that-
also the same person that just said that the Knicks have a brighter future than the Nets.
You are
A
also-
brighter future does
So
not.
who
does
about
not-
that team-
A brighter future does not necessarily mean that we're going to have these players though,
And-
because we could let go of
if you
Randall
want
to
to
get a
compare
better player.
if you want to compare front offices, the Nets run miles around the Knicks.
Oh my God.
Whoa,
Like
I
miles
never
around the
said
Knicks.
I never
So
said that once.
What, if it's not the players and it's not the front office, then what is brighter about the Knicks' future than the Nets?
I didn't say their
Nothing.
future's brighter. I said
No, that's exactly
talking
what
You
you said.
definitely
Next-
said
I can
that.
go
You
back
said
and
I
that.
said
You
the
that's
said
next
that.
exactly
4 or
what you
5
said.
years.
It's a
You
future
want to know
brighter.
why? Because once the Nets lose Kyrie,
But you said they're unpredictable, though.
hold up. Once the Nets lose Kyrie, KD, and Harden, then who are they going to be left with?
If they
The
lose
front
them.
office.
In 4 or 5 years, they're going to be really old. I'm pretty sure they might be,
Okay, so
Gone.
then I'll answer your question with a question. When the Knicks lose Randall and RJ Barrett and Obi Toppin, or I don't know,
But
Alec
in
Burks,
the next
then
4 to
who
5
are they going
years-
to have?
in the next 4 to 5 years.
The Knicks, what, their front office is going to do a better job than the Nets?
In the next 4 or 5 years,
The Nets front office.
this is the difference.
The
Jack.
Nets front office
This
that brought
is
in
the
3
difference.
top 15
This is
players.
the difference. James Harden is how
Interesting.
old? KD is how old?
James Harden is 30.
KD's how old? 32?
32.
33?
Kyrie's like 28.
So in 5 years, they'll be 35 and like 36 or 37. In 5 years, RJ Barrett's going to be 25.
The 3 of the Nets' best players can retire in the next 3 years, and I would still feel more confident about the Nets rebuilding a contender before the Knicks did.
In 5 years. In like the next 5
Yes.
years.
Yes.
I would be more confident in the Knicks being a better team 5 years from now than the Nets.
Well,
You
that's
said
based
this-
on
That's
nothing.
just me.
though.
I think you
It's
said this
based-
like
it's
2 years
based on
ago.
nothing.
Huh?
It's based on nothing.
No, it's not based on nothing. It's that the Nets have an older team that's ready to compete for a championship now, and the Knicks have a young up and coming
But you
team.
just said
that's
that those.
emerging.
But you just said that those young players could possibly not be around. So what is your argument?
No, yes, based on the history
You're
of the
totally
Knicks.
contradicting yourself.
Based on the history of the Knicks,
He
no.
doesn't know what's going
The
on.
reason I said they might not be around, one is because I was referring to them when talking about buying their jersey. I'm not going to invest $130 into buying a player's jersey who I don't know is going to be on the team. That's just me knowing what the Knicks have done in the history and not wanting to waste my money on a $130 jersey. But this new regime could be different. And to this point, they have shown to be different.
Okay.
But just based off 1 year, I'm not going to invest in a $130 jersey
You
just
can
because of that.
you can go ahead and bet on what could be. I'll bet on what has been, and that's
talk.
the Nets creating an NBA title contender in 5 years without any of their own first round picks.
Okay,
and the
that's
Knicks
fine.
being a
But-
laughing stock to this point.
Ooh. Ooh, laughing style.
You want to make this a
And
Knicks
I've
Nets
been
thing.
I've been
not
a
trying to do
guy.
that.
No, I'm making it a front office thing because you talked about front office.
You're making a front office thing between the Knicks and Nets, so it's a Knicks and Nets thing.
Well,
Is it
no,
not?
I'm just analyzing what we're talking about because you said you think the Knicks have a brighter future, but there's no basis.
No,
behind
I
that
said
statement.
in 5 years, like 5
No,
years from
you,
now,
you literally said the sentence.
5 years from now, I think the Knicks will be better than the Nets.
Okay,
And that
you
is a
stand on it.
baseless
Yes.
claim.
You stand on
Yes.
it. Okay.
So like the Nets, okay, maybe it'll be an 8th seed, but I think the Knicks are going to be that 1st seed. You know, in 5
I mean,
years
you
from
could
now,
say that, but you could say anything.
I know.
Like
I, can say
I
anything.
mean, I could say that Patrick Mahomes is going to come to the NBA and play for the Bulls in 5 years, but it doesn't make it a not a baseless claim.
Wait a minute.
Like, what you're saying has no basis.
Yeah.
Wait.
What did you
why are
say,
you doing
Patrick Mahomes?
Yes,
that? Why are you bringing my team into this though?
it was any team that I could.
Why
think
you
of.
had
It's
to
just a totally baseless claim.
It's not a baseless claim.
There's nothing to back up what you're saying.
What you said is worse. You said a football player is going to play basketball.
Yes, that's the whole point of what I'm saying.
He's trying to say
Anybody can
he's
claim
trying to
anything.
say your claim is so bad that he can just say something
No,
like
my
that.
claim is based on that the Nets players are going to be older. And based on their cap
Yes.
situation, not going to have the cap to probably get better players. They're going to have to build through the draft, and they have had no draft picks. Yes, Sean Marks has done a good job, but history has shown that teams who have not had draft picks and who have not had star players probably don't rebuild
The
that
Nets
fast.
draft picks have turned out pretty good the last few years.
But you guys have no first rounders over the next, like, what? How many years? Like,
4?
they're all going to Houston.
I think
So I'm
4?
saying is that
And they've still been a better
Yeah.
free agent destination.
Yeah,
So
no
what
doubt
makes you
about
think
it.
that the free agents are going to
Yeah.
go to the Knicks over the Nets?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in 5 years, KD, Kyrie, Harden are probably not on the Nets, whereas the Knicks players are going to be young and better. And Knicks are becoming a free agent destination now because of how they've been playing this year. So there's a real legit claim that in 5 years, once Harden, KD, and Kyrie are not on the Nets, the Knicks probably have an edge over them because they have younger talent. That's not a stretch to say. That's like saying the Pelicans in 5 years are probably going to be better than the Lakers because the Lakers, LeBron is going to retire, and the Pelicans are going to have Zion, Ingram, and Lonzo. It's not crazy.
I would bet that the Lakers will be better than the Pelicans in 5 years because they're a better
No, I know.
organization.
You can bet on whatever you want. But
That's
I'm
what
saying,
I've been saying to you.
No, you
That is
can
literally exactly what I said to you.
You can bet
We didn't even start the show yet.
you can bet on whatever you want. But what I'm saying is that it's not a baseless claim to say that a team with a young up and coming future might be better than a team in 5 years that has older players that are probably not going to be able to
Okay,
team
so
at that
you
time.
are betting on the Knicks front office to do a good job over the next 5 years, and I'm telling you that the Nets front office will do a better job because they are a better front office. And that is literally based on what we've seen over the past few years. Like, that's just a fact. There's no, like, claim to that. It's not a guess. It's literally what we've seen over the past couple of years. That's what I've been
Did
saying.
I say once right now? Did I say once when I was talking in the last 10 minutes that the Nets front office isn't better than the Knicks?
No, I'm just answering your idea that the Knicks are going to become better over the next 5 years. If it's not the players that are on the roster right now, then it's something about the front office. You think that the Knicks front office is going to do a better job over the next 5 years if you think they're going to be a better team. And I'm telling you the Knicks front office is not better. So.
Are you done?
You're a troll.
Are you done?
Literally,
No, I'm just saying.
that's what you
Are you done? Right, you've been talking for so long. I'm just giving.
You're the one that's been going on for 20 minutes about the Knicks.
No, you've been talking more than me this whole time.
The comments said Jack is 1-0 right now.
I just told you guys that I'm not gonna buy a Knicks jersey because I don't know if these players are gonna stay on the team. That's what I said. Because you don't know. They could get traded. What if RJ gets traded for Donovan Mitchell? That's been a rumor that's been circulating around. That's why I'm not gonna invest a jersey. I'm just asking if you're done because you're getting so animated over the Nets. I'm not making this a Nets-Knicks thing.
You're delusional.
You think
Move on.
I'm not making this?
Please go to the
I'm not
segments.
making this a Knicks and Nets thing.
Please go to the segment.
I'm not making this a Knicks and Nets thing.
You literally compared the Knicks and Nets to start this conversation.
I said
you
it.
have contradicted yourself 10
Yes, but I
times in
didn't.
the
I
past
didn't.
15
I didn't
minutes.
say the Knicks were better than the Nets, and I didn't say that I'd bank on the Knicks having a better front office than the Nets.
Please start the show.
Did I
Please start
do
the
that?
show.
Oh, man, quarantine
You
got
are
you-
flat out trolling.
Quarantine
right now.
got
It's
you
sad.
going
Please
crazy,
start
bro.
the show.
Quarantine got you going crazy, bro. So before we start the actual show, shout out to Coffees. I think he donated Coffos. He donated $10. He said, "Yo, love y'all." So thank you for that donation. We appreciate that. So okay, first topic of the episode because Jack was
Finally.
talking for so long. LaMarcus Aldridge is now on the Brooklyn Nets, and now they have James Harden, Kyrie, Kevin Durant, Aldridge, and Blake Griffin. What do you think about the Nets now? Are they now unbeatable? Are they the superest of super teams? Because this is what it looks like.
Yeah, why are you looking at? Why are you all looking at me?
You could start.
Now you start. You're already on the Nets whole thing.
Well, I don't know. I think that people looked at like the Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge signings different than what they were. Like I think a lot of people got this idea that they were like the additions to put the Nets over the top, but really like the addition that's made a big difference has been the James Harden one, and that gave them the third star. But when you look at LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin for what they are, which is like realistically probably the 6th and 7th options on this team, or like 7th and 8th options potentially, that's the best value at that spot in a rotation for anybody in the league. There's nobody in the league with a better 7th man than LaMarcus Aldridge or Blake Griffin at this point in the season. I don't know if you guys would disagree to that. I mean, like, not a 6th man like the first player to come off the bench. I'm talking about 7th or 8th best player on a roster.
Well, Aldridge is starting, right?
Tonight,
But he's like the
But I'm
7th.
saying everybody healthy, including Kevin Durant and
think-
James Harden.
I
being
would
back.
say-
I honestly wouldn't say that Aldridge or Blake are the 6th and 7th option, though.
No, I don't think they are. I think Joe Harris is more important than that. You could even make an argument that like Claxton, Bruce Brown, Jeff Green
talking
would be ahead of
offense?
them.
Yeah, like what type
in terms of
yeah.
like the impact they make to the team.
Oh,
So
okay,
I'm saying
okay.
where they're at in like the role that they're going to provide
Okay.
for this team, you're not going to find a better player providing the role that they do to any team in the NBA. So in that aspect, they put the Nets over the top because they give them that much more depth. It's not like adding those guys. It's not like adding those guys in 2015,
Yeah.
where really it would have been like, okay, you have 5 bona fide all-stars or, close to it. But adding them in the roles that they're going to be placed in puts them over the top because they're so good in that depth aspect.
I feel like if you ain't have the Nets winning a championship before these accusations, I don't think these were gonna really change your mind. I think you were just where you were gonna be. Where like people are still talking about Lakers in 5, Lakers in 6. So I feel like these two acquisitions, they're good for like depth wise, and the team is injured a lot. So I could like bringing in those two guys to have guys come in every night. That's gonna be good for. I think, but if you didn't have these guys winning the chip before these acquisitions, I don't think it's gonna make it better. I think with Claxton playing the way he did, I didn't really understand bringing in LA, but then they came out and said DeAndre Jordan was gonna get less minutes. So I guess it makes sense. But I think like watching, because I watch the Spurs a lot because DeJounte Murray is like one of my favorite players. And watching LA play, I think he's probably going to do what Blake Griffin does in terms of he probably was just playing bad with that team because he doesn't fit. But with you guys, you can play a 5 out because LA can shoot the mid-range. He can still shoot a little bit of the 3 ball. He's not going to be there for defensive purposes, but offensively, he's just going to make you guys even more unstoppable than you already are. And so he can come in for about 15, 20 minutes, give you about 10, 12 points off the bench if need be. And he has playoff experience. So that's good, too. That's always going to happen, with these young guys. And Claxton, it's going to help him down the stretch and getting that playoff experience. So I think this is a good move, but I don't think this is a move that would have made them. If they wasn't over the top before, this wasn't going to change your mind.
Yeah, I mean, Aldridge has been averaging 14 and 5 this past year, but in 2019, he was averaging 18. So, and he's still shooting good from the 3, 36%. So he can step out there. He can play 5 out. There is a question mark of whether he is a negative defender or not.
Yeah.
I think in terms of switching onto the perimeter, he's horrible at that. But in terms of protecting the rim, just 2 years ago, I saw him against Anthony Davis, and he played really well against Anthony Davis. So I think he'll be good at rim protection. When you talk about the net centers now, Aldridge, Claxton, and DeAndre Jordan is going to get left out. He's going to get left out. Maybe they brought in Aldridge, I think, because
I don't think he will, though.
I think
depending on who you guys play in a matchup series, like if you guys play Philly, I think he'll play more than LA.
No, I'm talking about you think he'll? So you think?
I think no, not more than Claxton. I think DJ is gonna get minutes, like good amount of minutes if they play a team like Philly with Joel Embiid and then Dwight Howard come off the bench.
I don't think DeAndre Jordan gives you a better defensive presence than Aldridge.
You don't think so?
At this point, no.
Can we all agree we think Nick Claxton is their best option at the 5?
Oh, 100%.
He's their best defensive option for sure.
I think offensively,
I think the way he rolls and he's a high energy guy.
I think that's personally for me. Like I know he does provide high energy. Personally for me, most of that is James Harden making him look really good.
Kyrie too, but I think that helps.
But that helps perfectly with Kyrie.
I think that helps in the pick and roll. I think if you want the shooting aspect, obviously you put LA. I
mean, James Harden had Kenneth Reed averaging 15 and 10, even though he wasn't a facilitator at the time. But
like offensively, I'd rather have a guy with this team that's going to rim run and be able to pick and roll. He's very mobile. Somebody like Aldridge who's going to pick and pop and be a better shooter, which is going to help in spots. But if there's a time where I have Kyrie, KD, James Harden, Joe Harris on the court, I'd rather a rim runner than a guy like Aldridge that can step out and shoot it. And he's going to be better defensively.
The thing about the Nets is that before they got Blake, everybody was so out on them because of their defense and because they thought Harden was going to come in and not be Harden. They thought it was going to be a very stagnant offense because who was going to get the ball. But I thought they were going to win the championship. Like before they got Harden, when the rumors were circulating, I thought once they got Harden, they were going to win the championship. Once they got Blake, I kind of saw him playing a point forward role off the bench. That's kind of what he's been so far. I mean, every other game he's averaging about 4 to 5 assists, so he's playing that role well. Aldridge, I think, is a good option because that injury history with Claxton does exist. That injury history with DeAndre Jordan does
Blake
exist.
Griffin too.
So I think also with Aldridge, it gives you an option for a player at the 5 to stretch out the floor and really play 5 out. And I think in this modern NBA, that's what every single team wants to do. But this just puts the Nets more over the top for me. I'll even go as far to say that even if Kevin Durant doesn't play, because his injury history is crazy, even if he doesn't play in the playoffs, I think the Nets can still make the finals in the East.
I would agree
with that team, and I think they could still beat the Lakers too.
I think
yes.
Okay.
With Harden, Kyrie, Blake, Aldridge, how they're playing now. Yes, I would. I would think so.
A big question mark.
That was a hot take.
I don't think it's a hot take.
I'm gonna tell you why it's a hot take. Go ahead,
a big question mark is LeBron James and Anthony Davis because you don't know about their health. You don't know how they're gonna come back. If they come back healthy, it becomes much tougher. But I do think without Kevin Durant, the Nets could still get out of the East just because the Bucks and the Sixers, who are the two biggest threats in the Eastern Conference, they both are playoff question marks. Both of them have struggled in the playoffs, and they still have to prove it more than I think the Nets, who have guys who have proven themselves more in the playoffs.
The thing about it is that Kevin Durant, like this current Nets team, let's say you take out Kevin Durant, I think they're still a championship contender. Kevin Durant just puts them over the top, kind of like Golden State-ish, where once they got him, he puts them over the top. I think it's safe to say that this has become James Harden's team. Like, this has become James Harden's team. And I know, remember, you caught quarantine, so we didn't get to talk about this as it was going. You were in quarantine. But
he disagreed with you, though.
But 2 weeks ago, when we talked about Kyrie and Harden, and I said, for the Nets to truly reach their, potential and be the best team in the league in the East right now, Harden has to play at an MVP level. And that's what he's been doing. And that's right now our first seed.
But the argument was if Kyrie should take more shots than James Harden. And most of these games, Kyrie is still taking more shots.
They're at the
than James
same
Harden.
now. They're at the same.
And I never said there was a problem with that. I said they could be close.
Before it was Harden was taking 14 shot attempts. Kyrie's taking around 22.
And you also
now
gotta
it's around the
consider
same.
That was with Kevin Durant on the court. I think with Kevin Durant on the court, it's his team. He would be the guy on any team outside of the Lakers with LeBron.
I don't think so.
Let's start there.
I think Kevin Durant is going to be their closer, no doubt. But when you're talking about the player who's going to handle the ball the majority of the game, that's James Harden.
But being the ball handler doesn't make it your team.
Name me a championship team or name me a great team right now.
Golden State
doesn't handle the ball for the Sixers, and it's his team.
That's one example. Tell me others.
Golden State.
Giannis
with Kevin Durant and Steph Curry.
Giannis does handle the ball for the Bucks.
Occasionally, but not full time.
No, Golden State. No.
Giannis handles the ball most of the time.
Golden State, Steph Curry and Draymond were handling the ball. That was Kevin Durant's team. You said name scenarios.
Talking about right now.
So this season.
Yes. LeBron for the Lakers, that's one. Jokic for the Nuggets. That's one. He does handle the ball for them.
Sometimes he's not the primary ball handler.
He brings
for
the
them.
ball up the floor.
Draymond Green for Golden State right now.
Kevin Durant brings the ball up the
Great
floor sometimes
teams.
for the Nets too.
They suck. Who would you say?
Kevin Durant brings the ball up sometimes for the Nets too. It's not. You
Who's
don't
their
have to be the
primary
primary ball handler.
Who's their primary?
for
Wait,
it to
what's
be
your argument?
team.
You're saying whoever's the primary ball handler?
I think Durant is the closer for the Nets. But in terms of whose team is it, who's running the show, James Harden is running the show for the Nets. Just like Jokic is running the show for the Nuggets.
Okay,
LeBron's running the show for the Lakers.
I get what you're
Giannis
saying.
is running the show for the Bucks.
No, Drew Holiday's the one doing that.
No, I think Giannis takes up the ball more than him.
No, Drew Holiday was just hurt. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but they've been running through Giannis.
I get what you're saying. When usually he's right to the aspect where usually the primary ball handler is the one running the show. So I get what you're saying. But at the same time, it's still Kevin Durant's team. He's just been hurt. Like, you got to remember, before Kevin Durant went down, he was playing at an MVP caliber level. He was the best player on that team.
Yes.
And with Kevin Durant being out, James Harden has been asked to do a little bit more, and he's shown out in that way.
This is the thing. Before KD got hurt, when Harden first came, when Kyrie wasn't playing, Harden and KD were 1A, 1B. 1A, 1B. They were 1A, 1B. Then, when all three of them were together, Harden, since he is the point guard now, and I mean, he was always a point guard in Houston too. People labeled him as a two, but he was always a point guard. Right when he played with KD and Kyrie, he was figuring out how to play with these guys. So that's why he wasn't that aggressive. He wasn't showing initiative. But now that he's figured out how to play with KD, he's figured out how to play with Kyrie, he's figured out the team and how they want to run and where they want to go, their spots. Harden's gonna be way more aggressive and way more comfortable when KD comes back.
I don't think so because they haven't played enough yet.
With KD.
Yeah, they haven't played enough yet. Them
Harden
three together.
and KD's chemistry was always
top
notch once they got together.
Yeah.
But them three together haven't found the right. They haven't played enough to really say that.
But I think this is the thing with that. Harden having played with KD already, having played with Kyrie already for an extended amount of time. Yeah. He's now figured out, okay, now I know how I can play when both of these guys are on the court.
I get what you're saying, but I think that it's more equivalent to the fact that KD has missed the last month. That has led more to James Harden's aggressiveness. And I think he will get that over time when KD comes back. But I still think it's KD's team.
But like I said, I said that I thought that the only way the Nets are above and beyond is if Harden is not all-star Harden. Harden is MVP Harden. And Harden has been MVP Harden so far. And I think it might not be in the scoring category that Harden's going to do it when KD comes back. He might average maybe about 22 to 20 points per game, which is what he was averaging when all the three of them were together. But he's definitely going to average 14, 13 assists. Like, I'm not going to say that's not out the question.
I don't think
right now,
would disagree.
He's averaging around 11 assists, but I think that a point guard, a guy who handles the ball like that, he's usually running the show. Like KD, when he's going, Harden's going to find him. When he sees a matchup, he's going to find him, no doubt about it. He's our guy. He's our go-to guy. He's going to be our closer. But in terms of running the show, it's going to be Harden at that point guard spot.
That was the whole discussion, though. Who is the go-to guy? Whose team is it?
No, it's who's running the show. That was the discussion.
Wait.
The question stemmed with whose team is it? And we said Kevin Durant, and you argued that.
But I think with the Nets, though, it's not just one person's team.
That is true.
It's everybody's, honestly.
I would agree with that.
It's between Kyrie, Harden, and KD.
You have to pinpoint it being one guy's team. It's Kevin Durant, and that's because Kevin Durant is the second best player in the world.
I don't think you can pinpoint that because it's the same thing with the Warriors. Whose team is it? KD or Curry's?
It was KD.
I wouldn't agree with that, honestly. I wouldn't agree. They had a force feed KD, but it was always Curry's team. It was always Curry's team.
It was
when it came down to winning time, the ball was in Kevin Durant's hands.
He's the closer.
It was Kevin Durant was the best player on the team, but it was Curry's team in the sense of, letting him come in and bring him.
We're not discussing that. That's like saying it was Dwayne Wade's team in Miami.
But I think that's what he's trying. I think that's what he's trying to say.
No, it's not at all. Because LeBron and Dwayne Wade in Miami, LeBron was by far the best player there. Like, it was a gap. Dwayne Wade at that time was declining. Curry and Durant were both in their primes. Both had come off an MVP.
The first year in Miami, Dwayne Wade was not declining yet. Then he had the injuries.
So what you're saying is that we don't have a high enough sample size to measure the other years. Like, it became, Dwayne Wade said it after the first year. It became very evident to him that this had to be LeBron's show. So that first year, yeah, you're right. But after that, there was a gap. In Golden State, it was not that.
I disagree.
In fact, in Golden State, when they started to try to shift towards Kevin Durant's team, they dropped off immensely. They dropped off immensely.
That wasn't because of play style. That was because problems in the locker room. It was because of play style. It was because problems in the locker room.
It was because of play style. Because Golden State has always been predicated on ball movement. When Kevin Durant got there, it got way more ISO heavy. Is that not a fact? Because I know you've been watching Golden State.
Yeah, he's right.
Yes, I know I'm right. Because that's why they almost lost to Houston.
Now, the reason things started going downhill there was because Draymond Green took that last-second shot instead of handing the ball off to KD, and then they started bickering in the locker room. KD isolated himself, and everything went downhill after that.
Their play
Draymond
style,
challenged him in the locker room.
changed a lot.
So
their play style changed.
You think without Kevin Durant, they can beat a healthy Lakers?
No.
That's what you said.
No, I think they can be champion. they can make it to the championship.
And then you said, you definitely said, and I even think that they can beat the Lakers.
They have a chance, but I don't. Do I think they can beat them? I don't think they can beat them, but they definitely have a chance. It's not going to be a 5-game series. It probably goes to 6, maybe 7 if Harden catches fire in the series.
Oh no, that's
I think Kevin Durant puts them over the top to the point that they can beat the Lakers in like 5. But I do think so.
5?
But this team, yeah. But I think in terms of like James Harden with Kyrie and that supporting cast, I think they can give the Lakers a challenge. But,
I agree with you.
I wouldn't say that they can beat them like forthright. Yes, they're going to win. But I would say like it'd be a close series. I don't think it's going to be dominant.
So without Kevin Durant, it's a close series. With Kevin Durant, they're beating him in 5.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
That's tough.
I think it's going to be an interesting series either way if both teams are healthy, but that's the big question mark.
I think
going to be healthy?
I don't know. That's tough. That's tough. That's a tough take because, like, even the last time LeBron lost in 5 was to the Warriors, but they were like top 10 in offense and defense. This is a whole different team, and AD is a difference maker because you don't have anybody that can guard AD.
Yeah,
that's true.
I was going to say we haven't seen these two teams match up healthy yet, so I don't know how anybody on the Nets matches up with AD. Like, I'd like to think
I like Claxton,
that Nick Claxton can slow him down, but it's Anthony Davis we're talking about. Like, slowing him down, he's still going to be a problem for the Nets.
I'm really not too worried because with the matchups, no, because people talk about AD, and yeah, that's true. But I mean, Lakers got to worry about Kyrie, Harden, and KD.
I think Kyrie will have to be a big difference maker in that series because he will have the matchup. Because the Lakers don't have that third guy. Like, who's the matchup going to be against Kyrie? Dennis Schroeder, and he should really, like, head and shoulders win that one-on-one battle.
No, he should, but Schroeder is a pretty good defender.
Like,
really good.
He's a really good defender.
But I'm just saying, like, matchup-wise, like, LeBron and either Harden or KD, AD, it would probably be AD and KD, LeBron and Harden, and Kyrie and Schroeder.
I think Harden would win. I think he has a better chance to win his matchup than Kyrie, just my opinion. I don't think LeBron's going to be guarding Harden like that.
No. I'm not talking defense.
He's talking about,
I'm not talking like offense,
other.
defense. I'm talking about just impact-wise. Like, when you look at the impact that those players are going to have, like LeBron and Harden and AD and KD, I think their matchups will be more equal value, whereas Kyrie needs to provide more for the Nets than Schroeder does for the Lakers.
Then you look at the 4th and 5th players, though. Aldridge and who else?
And that's a great point. As you keep going further down the lineup, the Nets have more impactful guys at every other spot in the rotation.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I disagree on that part. I might have to disagree on that part. Because after Kyrie, what do you guys have that is more impactful than Montrezl? I think Montrezl Harrell and Joe Harris are on the same level for their teams.
Even if you say they're equal, though, you keep going, and the Lakers kind of fall off a cliff after that compared to the Nets.
With LeBron on the court?
No. I'm talking about. I get what you're saying.
Like, I think Kuz is not bad. I think him and Blake.
No, he's not bad, but I just think the Nets are a deeper team than the Lakers.
I
think the Nets have more talent deeper than the Lakers do.
I personally
I can see why you
disagree
say that.
with that a little bit.
I see why you say it.
The Lakers, the Nets are way more top heavy, but I think when you get into those other complimentary role player guys, Lakers match up.
I think in terms of talent, obviously the Nets, but in terms of like who fits what the Lakers have better players equipped for their two guys. Like they have the shooters there for them, Pope and Alex Caruso, and then they have Montrez coming up the bench, Kyle Kuzma. So those are all good players. You guys, in terms of talent, though, I see why you're saying that. You guys are better in terms of that. It would just have to be like you said, Kyrie or Harden is gonna have to. I think are gonna have to be the two guys that completely dominate their matchups because KD and LeBron are gonna offset each other. We know that that's gonna happen. Harden is just gonna have to dominate. Whether it be the second guy, I would assume be AD.
Yeah,
but we got to also think about matchups too. Like, Harden's probably going to be guarded by KCP.
Yeah. The thing is, it's Harden and Kyrie against the Lakers guards versus AD versus the Nets front court. So,
but
the
honestly,
Nets have an
I
advantage
really
in that aspect.
I know AD is great, but
you called him the second best player
coming into the season.
Yeah,
yes.
so don't.
Based off
All
last
right, so
year, yes.
Before you say anything, just remember you said that.
Based off last season, yes. But that's just my ranking for the season. That's not my ranking as them as players though. But for me, I don't think I know AD's great and he provides great defensive versatility. He's an elite defender. But I just think in this current age of basketball, if you're not a passer like that, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to make such a big impact, especially on the offensive side. I think the Nets are worried about Davis, but I think Aldridge and Claxton and Jordan, those three guys can hold him back a little bit. Like I don't think he's going to drop 30 a game on the Nets.
You think the game has progressed that much where AD he needs to have that playmaking in his game?
If you look at every single great player right now, outside of a few anomalies, most of them have the ability to be are really great passers. If you look, even that's why right now, like you look at the great scorers in the league right now, they're not better players because they don't have that passing in their game. Like you look at Jokic, I think he's better than Embiid off the simple fact that he can provide everything Embiid can on the offensive side, and he's a great passer. Also, Jokic is not a slouch defensively.
So you think he's better than AD?
Jokic right now, I would honestly take Jokic to build a team around because of his passing
Well, that's
ability.
a different question. That's.
But the advantage that AD has is that he gets to play with LeBron.
That's true.
So he doesn't need. I don't think he needs to be that playmaker just off the simple fact that he plays with LeBron James.
But when he's in the playoffs, though, the Nets are going to hard double him. So when they hard double, how is I don't trust his passing ability to the point where I think he'll be able to kick out consistently and make on-point passes.
I mean, yeah.
And the Lakers shooters got to.
I think just with AD, he's so different than all the other bigs in the league because of the simple fact that he can play on the perimeter and he's quick with his feet. His footwork is excellent. So he's a different big than Embiid and the Joker and even Giannis in a sense where he has the skill to go out there and play. And it's going to be tough for guys like LA and DJ to go out there on the perimeter every play and have to guard him. But you're right. If they do double, it depends on the lineup they're out there with. If they put the shooters out and the shooters are hitting, it's going to be tough for them to double AD.
That was one thing about the Lakers last year and why they were so successful. It seemed like every night there was at least one guy who stepped up on the perimeter shooting the ball. And
it was Rondo for most of the playoffs.
Yeah, it was never like all 3 or 4 of their best guards, but it was always one guy every night, whether it was KCP, rarely Danny Green, Rondo, even Caruso some nights stepped up.
Yeah.
Like, they always had a guy step up on the perimeter, and they're going to have to replicate that if they want a chance to beat the Nets. Because, like you said, if they bring that hard double, it's like the Clippers-Nuggets series. The reason the Nuggets were so successful is because when the Clippers sent that hard double at Jokic, he did such a good job kicking out the shooters, and they knocked down their shots. So that's going to be the recipe for success for the Lakers.
I honestly think the Nets might play KD at the 5 the whole series.
And
just go one-on-one. And just go one-on-one.
It would be like doing what the Lakers did in the playoffs last year by sitting Howard and McGee.
Yeah, just sitting on the bigs and just going one-on-one.
Yeah.
Your guys beat our guys.
Just trying to outscore.
I just think that's what they're going to do.
You could let AD get 2 on one end if you could go back and get 3 on the other.
So the next topic, the Lakers, obviously, they just signed RJ Drummond. And a lot of talk has been on Twitter about whether the Lakers are a super team now that they got RJ Drummond. Of course, we're talking about when healthy, when AD, LeBron, and all of them are healthy. We know the Nets right now are a super team because they have that big 3. Do you believe that the Lakers are a super team as well?
I think it's relative. Like, compared to teams in the league last year, I would say, yeah, the Lakers had a super team. But now that the Nets are, like, the shooting point for teams in the league, I would not consider the Lakers a super team right now, just because like I don't see Drummond or any third option that they would have as a even a star. So now that the line to reach for teams in the league is 3 superstars, because that's 3 stars, I would even say. I don't think the Lakers have that. I mean, Drummond is like a borderline all-star. I think he's a 2-time all-star.
Have you seen his highlight clips? They're so hilarious.
So, like, I don't know if I would call them a super team, but I would say they're the closest team in the league outside of the Nets to being a super team. If the Nets didn't trade for Harden, we would be calling the Lakers a super team as well, I feel like.
I always felt like a super team, the definition of a super team was 3 all-star caliber players at the same time on the same team. I always thought that was the definition. And based off what I've seen in the past with super teams, you know, Miami, 3 all-star caliber players. Golden State, they had 4. The Nets now, you guys have 3 all-star, superstar caliber players. I think those were the super team-like teams. I think this team right now is not a super team. They have 2 really great superstars and then a bunch of complementary pieces. I don't look at Andre Drummond as even a borderline all-star in this day and age. I don't think he's that. I don't look at Montrezl Harrell as that, Kyle Kuzma, Dennis Schroeder. I just think they have a bunch. I think they're built
They got a really nice team.
Yeah, I think they're built like the Spurs back in the day, like with Tim Duncan and not like back with TDs, Tony Parker and them.
I get
but
what
like
you're saying.
the team that won.
They're a
well-constructed team with their best guys at the top and then a bunch of really good players after them. I don't think super team, though. The only super team in the league is the Nets.
I think the Lakers are a super team.
That's
I think LeBron and AD. One, you have the best player on the planet in LeBron. You have AD, who's a superstar player. Then you have yes, he's a superstar player.
No. I'm saying what else? I was waiting for the next one.
Andre Drummond is an all-star.
What?
He's an all-star.
Now, right? Like as of right now,
he just made it like 2 years ago, 1 or 2 years ago. Right now, he's closer to an all-star than Aldridge or Blake are.
Yeah, but that's like their 5th, 6th best player.
Okay, but this is what I'm saying. When you look at the Nets versus the Lakers, when you compare them, the Nets' big 3, yes, they have the better big 3 in Kyrie, KD, and Harden. But then you look at the Nets, LeBron, AD, Drummond, Schroeder, Harrell, Kuzma. Right now, would you take Blake Griffin or Kyle Kuzma?
Kuzma.
Okay, so.
But I would take Joe Harris over Kuzma.
Yeah. Why do people not name Joe Harris?
I love Joe Harris, but would you take Harris over Schroeder?
No. Depending on what I want, but no.
But okay, let's just go down a list of the players, right? So the best player, if they're in a series, the best player is LeBron.
Then KD.
Second is KD.
Then Harden.
Third is Harden.
Then AD.
Then Kyrie.
Gap. Then it's like a gap.
Then yes.
Big gap.
So first 5, the Nets have 3, the Lakers have 2.
Yeah.
So then we get to 6. I would say it's Drummond.
Over Schroeder?
Yes. I think
that's an honest. I don't know about that one.
I would say Drummond.
Okay, you say
I mean,
Drummond.
he's been averaging 16 rebounds.
They're the most irrelevant.
He's one of the best. He's the best rebounder in the game right now. I think that means something.
It does.
So okay,
I don't know if it means that much though.
I do think so, especially when you're going up against a Nets team who
DeAndre Jordan used to be the best rebounder in the league.
But here's my thing: like if they put Drummond out there, the Nets could counter with KD at the 5, and he would be useless. He would be like a lost puppy out there.
Keep going with your list. Drummond.
Okay, Drummond. Then who do you want to put, Harris or Schroeder?
I think you could put him 1A, 1B.
Let's put Harris there. Then Schroeder. Then we said
Kuzma
over Blake. What about Aldridge? Where are we going to put Aldridge?
I would say Kuzma.
Kuzma over Aldridge?
To be honest,
or Harrell over Aldridge?
This might sound crazy, but I think Harrell should be up on that list.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's just name Aldridge first. The next are Harrell and Kuzma.
I wouldn't put Aldridge over Jeff Green. I think Jeff Green is also another guy.
I would put Harrell before all 3 of those guys.
Okay. If you look at the Nets and Lakers first 12, Lakers probably have more players in that first 12. And I'm going to be honest. I think Markieff Morris is around the same tier as Jeff Green. If you wanted to put Jeff Green higher than Aldridge, I think Markieff Morris is that high too.
So where do you put Caruso?
Caruso is a valuable player too.
I think that Jeff
But that's
Green,
what I'm saying. I think the Lakers have more depth.
I think Morris has looked better because he's had to play a much bigger role for the Lakers, especially with the injuries. But Jeff Green, conversely, has had his role crazily impacted, like the opposite way because of all the weapons the Nets have brought in.
But
So,
Morris was good in the playoffs last year when
yeah,
they
no,
played
I agree.
small.
I agree when they played him in the small.
But
ball.
also KCP. Are we putting him in there as well? Like, he's a good role player too.
I think we're overvaluing these players.
I don't really
agree.
think so.
I think
Let's
so.
just.
I don't
The
think
Lakers have 2 superstars, 1 All-Star caliber player, and they have 2 Sixth Men of the Year.
No, that's the thing. That's where we all this where we
I
disagree with
think
you on that third
Drummond
part.
is an All-Star caliber player.
I don't think
I think
is.
Drummond is getting severely disrespected right now.
I think
okay.
the gap between Kyrie and Andre Drummond is so
so-
much bigger than anybody else on the rest of that list.
Let me ask
of
you a-
role
That's true,
players.
but I do think the Lakers have more complementary role players. Like, when you look at their roster, Lakers have 2 superstars, one that's a GOAT. They have an All-Star caliber player, and they have 2 Sixth Men of the Year, in Schroeder and Harrell. Like, I think that in itself is like, that is a pretty great team.
You know, a guy that we have totally forgotten in this discussion. We forgot him in the last discussion too, and I don't know.
I think you're
gonna
say Bruce Brown.
Spencer Dinwiddie
Oh, I forgot.
could be back
he's
by the
been
playoffs.
hurt though. That's why.
But
I
he
didn't
could
mention
be
him.
back by the playoffs. I don't know if you have
I
read
think
anything
Schroeder's
about
better.
it, but after he tore his ACL in college, he went through like a crazy training program to strengthen his knee. So when he tore his ACL, it was a crazy clean tear of it, and the doctor said that he is like 5 to 10 weeks ahead of schedule. So there's a chance that he's back by the playoffs.
So
That's true. I think Schroeder is better than him though.
But even so, it makes the gap even that much smaller.
So
I
you-
that's
already
true.
think the
So you're
gap is
telling me
small.
this? You're telling me with Andre Drummond being an All-Star caliber player, I just bro, like he's
I
like
think this
he's
is the
not. I don't
thing.
think he's like top 40 in the NBA, bro. Like,
This is the thing. The Nets getting this stacked roster has kind of changed people's definition of what a super team is. But honestly,
I don't think it has.
But honestly, even with this Nets versus this Lakers team, right? We're probably thinking they're going to go to the finals. You already know my opinion on it. I think the Nets.
I don't think that. Don't
I-
put me in that conversation.
I think the
Healthy?
Nets.
Well, Lakers healthy?
If every
Yeah, I don't
team
think
in
the
league
Lakers are
was
going to the
healthy-
finals. I don't think the Lakers are going to the finals.
Okay,
Who
whatever.
do you think's going?
The Clippers, duh.
Whoa.
Okay, whatever. So, you already know my opinion. You know I think the Nets are going to
Yeah.
win. What do you think the series would go to? Nets versus Lakers in the finals. Everybody healthy.
I think it could be a really good series.
I think just because of LeBron, out of respect for LeBron, you give him a game. But I think with AD being so, like, with them not having anybody to match up with AD down low, I would give Nets in 6.
It's hard to say that any team without LeBron and a second guy like AD isn't a super team just because of how good one LeBron is and then those two guys together are. But that's what I was saying at the beginning. Like it's kind of relative because the Nets have changed like the bar for
But
what a
even
super team
even
is.
I don't
with the
even
Nets,
think-
You know what I'm saying?
even with the Nets changing the bar, there are some people that still believe the Lakers are going to take the Nets to 7. They can also
win.
beat the Nets. They can win.
But I
So
think that's
if
the
you
strength of
believe the
LeBron.
Nets are a super team, but you believe the Lakers can win, then you're calling the Lakers a super team too. And
That's
I know
fair.
it's mostly because of LeBron, but even like they're still a stacked team. Like that is a stacked team.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's
with you.
not-
It's a
it's
I don't,
stacked
but I don't
team.
think I wouldn't call it a super team. I think it's just a well-rounded, really good team. Like
It's a stacked team.
I think the Lakers team right now is better than LeBron's Cavs teams.
because of
Kyrie
AD.
which
and,
one?
Because of
Kyrie and
AD
Love.
though,
Kyrie and Love.
I think AD and Kyrie are a gap at that point. That's
yes,
why.
but at that time, LeBron, Kyrie, and Love were a super team. They were a super team.
Yeah, but the league was so much different. If you're talking,
Yeah,
like
but it was kind of
2016,
3 superstar, all-star caliber player. And I think LeBron, yes, he's still MVP. I think AD impact is better than Kyrie's. So it's really between Love and Drummond as their third. And based on how Kevin Love played in
you can't say that
Cleveland,
though because Draymond Green was guarding him in final series. He played
but even
well.
throughout the playoffs, Kevin Love wasn't that good.
That's true, but we're not going to expect Drummond to do anything better.
I think the thing about Drummond is that he's going to average like 13 to 15 rebounds.
Yeah, I know
and
he's going to get the
With
rebound.
LeBron,
see what
his
he
field goal
does.
percentage is going to go up as well.
That's
Like
possible.
in Cleveland and Detroit, he was forced to be that first option and that stuff. But with the Lakers, he's not going to be doing that.
My question for him is in the playoffs, what does his role become? Because are the Nets going to be able to do, if they see the Lakers, are the Nets going to be able to do to the Lakers, what the Lakers did to teams last year by putting AD at the 5. Like the Nets could go with KD at the 5, or even like, even if you want to go Jeff Green at the 5 and like KD at the 4, they could go small ball, and I feel like that would really make Andre Drummond hard to keep on the court.
The thing about it is that I think Drummond is pretty fast for his height. So I think even if a team goes small ball, he can still run the floor pretty well for me to like feel okay with him being on the floor. But even in the West, I don't think any team outside of the Clippers probably could actually go small ball and match up with the Lakers small ball. You look at Phoenix, they're not going small with Ayton. You look at Jazz aren't going to go small with Gobert.
The Nuggets would be interesting because I think that having Jokic out there is technically going small because he could play like a guard.
I get it, but I don't think that's going small because Jokic can't guard the perimeter. I think going small is going 5 out, but also like having 5 guys on the court that can switch on everything.
But can Drummond guard Jokic?
I think AD is going to be out there at the 5.
Like that's what I'm getting at. Like I think that would be a tough matchup for him as well. The Nuggets I think would be interesting because I think Jokic would be a nightmare matchup for Drummond. And then how would the Lakers like answer? The Lakers will then have to go AD at the 5 to match up with that.
Yeah, I could see that, but I also think Jokic is way more stronger than AD, and he showed it last year in the playoffs.
I would be really interested to see how the Lakers countered.
And AD hates playing at the 5.
He does.
So I don't know if he's going to be cool with that. They went small against the Rockets because they had to go small against the Rockets.
AD was guarding Westbrook. It was mad weird.
Yeah, so they had to go small against the Rockets. But I think Drummond is going to get significant playing time. And even in the Nets series.
So, wait, can I ask you a question? Based off what we're saying, like, this is out of topic but in topic. Was Kevin Durant's OKC team a super team?
With Westbrook and
Harden. And
Harden was not a star at that point.
But Westbrook was. It was 2 stars. A superstar and an all-star, and it was a really good team out after them too.
Young,
but it was KD, an MVP player. Westbrook was not a superstar; he was an all-star. And then you had a 6th man of the year.
And then you had
like
Ibaka.
The Lakers have 2 superstars now, an all-star caliber player. I think in Drummond.
But that's where I think the confusion is because I think
I don't think OKC was a super team.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he was a super team.
No, I'm just thinking of teams in the back.
They would have stayed together for like 2 more years, they would have been.
I'm thinking of teams that we've seen in the past, and what we're calling.
It's an interesting conversation because, I feel like the definition of that has changed so much over the years. Like, if you go back,
I think
the Celtics really created the super team. I think with the big 3, and then from there it changed to like the Heat changed the definition of that with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, and then the Warriors really changed the definition of that by bringing in KD, and now it's like
I think the Nets. I don't know because it's like I think the Nets kind of just did what the Warriors did in a sense. Like your super team is kind of like their super team. I think this super team is
better.
I think their super team just really just. I'm not. I didn't say anything.
I was trying to.
I didn't feel like getting into that back and forth. I just all right. Your super. I think your definition of the Lakers super team really just depends on how you view Andre Drummond.
Yeah.
And if he views Andre Drummond as an all-star caliber, then you're gonna say they're a super team. If you don't, then you're gonna be like, all right, this is just a really, really great team.
So hold up, KD, Steph, Clay, or KD, Harden, Kyrie?
You can't say KD, Steph, Clay because it wasn't. It's KD, Steph, Clay, Draymond, and then you said Kyrie.
I'm just talking about the first 3.
You can't talk about because it wasn't just 3. That's why I would take the Warriors.
You would take the Warriors over the Nets now? That roster?
Which one? The first one?
First one, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
not the
100%.
second year. I know the second year was
17, 18?
16, 17.
16, 17.
Yeah,
17.
the one that went through the playoffs 16-1 just dominated.
I think Draymond is the better 4th option, but then I think beyond that, the Nets.
I think Iggy's really important at that moment. I think they still had Livingston, Barbosa. That was a good piece.
They didn't. Their roster.
That wasn't with Livingston and Barbosa?
No, their roster at that time was
I had the wrong roster.
KD, Curry, Thompson, Draymond, Iggy, Ian Clark, Zaza, JaVale McGee, Livingston, and Matt Barnes.
I would probably say them. I
would
say in 7.
Series.
Yeah, I would say in 7 them. It really just come down to Game 7. I think.
But I think their Nets 3 is better than the Warriors 3, though. I know Draymond's there, but I think the Nets big 3 is better than the Warriors 3.
With me and you, that just comes with who we think is better out of Harden and Curry, and I think Curry's better.
No, I think Kyrie makes an impact.
I think Kyrie and Clay is the bigger matchup there, and I think that Kyrie's the more
I think Curry and Harden cancel each other out.
Okay.
KD cancels each other out. Yeah.
KD cancels. Okay.
So it's between Kyrie and
But then you say that, but then I say Draymond cancels their 4th option out. So it's like that's where it comes back to.
I'm just talking about the big 3, though.
You can't, but it wasn't a big 3, though.
No, I know it wasn't a big 3. I know it wasn't a big 3, but I'm talking about the Nets top 3 versus the Warriors top 3.
Then Klay holds them back.
Yes.
Klay holds them back.
I think the Nets 3 is better.
Because Kyrie right now is a far better player than Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
In Golden State.
In that year.
Yeah, I'm saying in that year. Kyrie right now is a far better player. But they weren't the big 3. They were big 4. But if you're talking just big 3, I think Steph and Harden.
I really wish we could see that game. I wish we could see that series because I think it would have been a great series.
It would go 7.
Probably would have. So DeMarcus Cousins, he's gonna sign with the Clippers on a 10-day contract.
I'm screaming.
And Riv, you think that the Clippers are gonna go to the finals? You think they're gonna beat a healthy Lakers team? So what does this move do for the Clippers? What do you believe now about the Clippers? Does this improve their chances getting DeMarcus Cousins?
He signed to a 10-day. Nah, I watch Clippers games all the time. I try to get the most of them. DeMarcus Cousins, he isn't going to get any minutes. You know, if you've been watching the Clippers, you've been seeing the impact Zubac has had on the defensive end. You've been seeing Terrence Mann. He's starting to shine. He's starting to get his – and Serge Ibaka has been out. I think with Zubac and Ibaka and then the fact that the Clippers, just like the Nets, go small ball, real small, I don't think Cousins is going to find anywhere to really get any burn because he doesn't offer much on the defensive end. And on the offensive end, they have Ibaka. So it's like he doesn't really do much for me. Like he doesn't change my mind or I have him. I just think their team is 10 deep right now. They have the team well-equipped. They don't need Cousins to come in and either change anything. I think he should. They don't need this 10-day contract, honestly.
They don't need it, and DeMarcus Cousins is washed.
It can't hurt, though.
To do what? I mean, like.
You never know.
He's on a 10-day.
In a perfect world, you could get, like, some inkling of the 2018-19 DeMarcus Cousins, because that was after he got hurt.
But where is he going to get minutes, though?
That's the question. But, I mean, it's a 10-day contract. It can't hurt. I don't see it making a difference.
He has to make the team.
It's unfortunate.
I mean, Cousins has been averaging 10 and 8 in Houston. I mean, he got bought out of Houston, averaging 20 minutes per game, but he shot 37% from the field and 33.6% from 3. And he's a bad defender. He's not a good defender in the post. He cannot switch on to guards. He's too slow. And I think
he's an old-time big man.
Just his game does not fit the modern NBA, but I also think that his injuries have really derailed his career. And the thing is, even when he was the best center in the league in around 2015, he still wasn't a positive impact on his team. You know,
to be fair,
offensively, the Kings were bad.
No, yeah,
but he wasn't. He still wasn't a positive impact on his team.
I think if he would have stayed healthy, he'd be a top 5.
First, you got to remember. You got to remember when he went to the Pelicans, they were a really good. With him and AD, they were 4th seed.
I think right now, the closest player to Cousins that we saw in 2015 that's playing right now is Karl Anthony Towns, but better from the outside and a better passer.
I disagree.
But I think if DeMarcus Cousins stayed healthy, you could have seen that same kind of progression out of him. I think if DeMarcus Cousins stayed healthy.
What do you think?
I'm about to say a hot take.
I think if DeMarcus Cousins would have stayed healthy, it would have been Jokic, Embiid, and then Towns and Cousins, like fighting for that 3rd spot.
Honestly, I would take Gobert over Cousins, just because of his impact defensively, and I need that out of a big man.
So would you take Gobert over Towns?
Yes, I would.
I disagree.
You can make an argument for it, yeah.
You can make an argument for it.
Towns is literally doing what Cousins was doing.
But if I'm a team right now that's like looking to be a finals contender, and I'll take one of those two guys, I think Towns could be on the court.
Towns hasn't played meaningful basketball since Jimmy Butler left.
That's fair. That's a fair point, but I don't know. I think that Gobert hurt you in the playoffs.
I think before, I don't know, Boogie, before the Jokers, Boogie was out there putting up 27, 11, and 6. He was that guy who can score. He was a passing big man. He was really good at it. He was a great rebounder. I just think the Kings, the way they set up, it wasn't built for him to really be successful at that time. I think when he went to the Pelicans,
he was great in New Orleans.
They were robbed when he got hurt in New Orleans. They were robbed of a great big man tandem because of his injuries. And then he went to the Warriors, and then we all know the story after that.
Would have been crazy to see if
what's
that
your hot
could have
take,
worked out.
though?
Oh, I was going to say he was Jokic before Jokic. That's what I was going to say.
I mean, it's not – I think he had to play that way for Jokic to strive now, but I do think Jokic just does what he does at a way higher level.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. I mean, to me, I just, Cousins now, let's just get back to the topic. Cousins now isn't going to do much for the Clippers. As you mentioned, their lineups are set. Terrence Mann has looked really good. I mean, he has emerged as one of their centerpiece players. He's a really good young player. He's very versatile defensively. And right now they have Kawhi, PG, Ibaka, Morris, Pat Bev. Morris sometimes plays the small ball 5. So, like, where does Cousins fit? You're not going to play him over Ibaka.
Batum sometimes.
You won't play him exactly.
Yeah,
you won't play him over Morris. You won't play him over Batum.
And they just got Rondo.
You won't play him over Zubac. The Clippers have always needed in free agency. That's why they got Ibaka. They needed a guy who could stretch the floor because Harrell really limited them in the playoffs. Then they needed a true point guard. They got that in Rondo. DeMarcus Cousins, to me, I'm not really sure why they made this move because I don't see him making the team. 2, I don't see if he does make the team that he's going to get some meaningful minutes and actually make an impact. I just really don't see it.
I would say this, that the Clippers are very injury prone. The team is always hurt. There's always somebody out the lineup. So if there's a chance he can sneak in and get some minutes, I hope he does well. But like I said, I don't see him cracking that lineup. I think that lineup is set for the playoffs. It's set for the rest of the year. And they have a really strong 10 lineup guy where they don't really need Cousins to come in and do anything special.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe I was a little bit too harsh saying he won't make the team.
No, he won't. I don't think
even if he does, I don't think he'll play.
Yeah, it really depends if they have some injuries. You know, with Ibaka out now and Batum, I think is still out as well.
No,
he's back.
Yeah.
Okay, so but with Ibaka out now, Cousins could get some minutes there.
It's Ibaka, PG, Marcus Morris. They're out, so they're a little small ball 5.
So I think Cousins could get some minutes. And
on a 10-day, can you play in the game?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
My boy's suiting up tonight.
So we'll see if Cousins does well. I don't know if he's going to play tonight. We'll see if he does or not. But a player who's been playing really good this season is Zion Williamson. He has been playing great. He should have been a New York Knick. But
oh, God.
Zion Williamson has been playing phenomenal, and it seems like his season has been getting overlooked because before the start of the season, everybody was in love with Luka. Then when the season started, everybody was in love with LaMelo. And it seems like Zion has been casted out of that role of being the next face of the NBA. And also, I think fans started to get pissed off at the fact that he was in every national TV game, even though the Pelicans, it wasn't good basketball to watch. So
force feeding him.
Yeah, so because of that, I think the hype on him has died down significantly. But he's averaging 26 points per game this season, 7 rebounds per game, shooting 62% from the field, and he just looks fantastic. Like, I mean, in terms of finishers, he's phenomenal. Rick Carlisle the other night said that he's a Shaq-like force with point guard skills, and I think that's a perfect comparison for him. I mean, nobody can stop Zion one-on-one in the league.
Yeah, I was watching the Boston game. I had the chance to catch up on the Boston game, and they tried to build the wall, and it didn't work. You know, they had Tatum up at the top, and they had Smart up there at one point. And these are great defenders, and Zion is just way too strong. And it sucks because the team that the Pelicans built is poorly constructed. I don't think they realized how bad Bledsoe was before they got him. Like, he's just, shooting-wise, he's just horrible, and decision-making is terrible. Steven Adams doesn't offer much spacing either, so the team's constructed bad. But Zion has found a way to disregard all that and still play at a phenomenal level. And shout out to him because he's living up, in my opinion, I feel like he's living up to that number 1 pick and dominating the game. And he's finally healthy and getting back to what he's doing. So shout out to Zion for doing that. I don't know, the team's direction. You know, I think Lonzo's his best teammate. You know, I see those two guys have the best chemistry together, and they bring out the best in each other. So I hope they keep Lonzo, but they've been kind of iffy on him. But I think this team has the bright spots in him, Ingram, and Lonzo. And Kira Lewis, he's good. Josh Hart's good too. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's been playing good. I think they just have to build a team constructed around Zion, because I think right now this team was more constructed for Brandon Ingram, but they're starting to realize that Zion is going to probably be their number 1 guy.
Yeah, I just think it's something that we see a lot in sports media these days, especially with the prevalence of social media, how some of these guys that really are like superstars and deserve the platform kind of get a little force-fed to us. It happened with Zion. It happened in the NFL with Lamar Jackson is the prime example I could think of. In the NBA, it's happened to Giannis. You know, even going back, it happened to LeBron, where it's like they kind of get pushed on us so much that people start to push back and unnecessarily hate them. And I think it's unfortunate, but it's what happened because he was really so focused on since he entered the league. Even when he was in college, he was being posted every day on like Bleacher Report and stuff like that. And people hate that for some reason. I mean, I guess I kind of understand it, but when you watch the guy, he is worth the hype. He's been playing incredible. And that Rick Carlisle quote was a perfect comparison in my mind. When you see him working down low, like he really looks like a man amongst boys playing against other NBA players. And that was the question. Him making the leap from college to the NBA was, can he still bully down low like he did at Duke in the NBA? And I think he's done exactly that.
I don't think he's Shaq. I think he's more Dominique Wilkins with a bulk body and ball handling ability. I think he's more that. Like, I was watching Dominique Wilkins, like he did with Zion. He's just dunking on everybody, just finishing out. So I think that's the guy who I came up with. I thought he was him with just ball handling ability and a bigger and more like a Shaq body, but with Dominique.
When he gets in there rebounding, like on the offensive glass, he is a force.
The thing about Zion and the Pelicans right now is I think Stan Van Gundy to start the season was using him really poorly. They were running the offense through Brandon Ingram. But as of recent, Stan Van Gundy has been using Zion as a primary ball handler since February.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing it. So, like, about 2 months now he's been doing it. He's been setting more on-ball screens for Zion. And Zion has just been the primary pick-and-roll ball handler in most situations. And since February, the Pelicans have a 126 offensive rating when Zion Williamson is on the court. He takes more field goal attempts per game at the rim than Giannis the past 2 years and than Shaq did in 2002. So he's getting to the rim whenever he wants, and his ability to change directions, even when he's cut off by defenders, is phenomenal. I mean, he's stronger than guards and forwards, and he's quicker than big men, so he can get to the rim whenever he wants. And like you mentioned, his ability to create second chance points to follow up his missed baskets and layups, because he does miss a lot of layups, but he always follows them up. He always gets the rebound back because his second jump, when he's on his second jump, defenders are still trying to recover and he scores. That's the thing. Zion is legit. He's a superstar in the making, I believe. But something just tells me that this Pelicans organization is going to hold him back.
Like they did with AD?
Yep.
I could see him leaving.
Not only that, but JJ Redick on his podcast talked about how the organization isn't transparent and, you know, they didn't do right by
he
him.
Killed them for that trade.
Yeah, because JJ wanted to go to Brooklyn or New York because he wanted to be with his family, because that's where his family
Oh,
was.
for real?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And instead,
where'd they send him? Oh, Dallas.
And he said he thought he was going to get bought out, but instead they traded him to Dallas, and he didn't like it so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business.
It is.
I didn't even realize he's shooting 71% from the free throw line, which isn't bad.
Yeah, that's good
for him
knock
because he's
on him
technically a
coming to the
big
league,
man. Yeah, that's good. That's
Isn't
good.
that what LeBron is shooting around there?
Yeah.
And
LeBron's like at 60 something.
to get
69%.
62% from the field on 26.5 points per game, and then also be shooting 71% from the free throw line. That is great.
Yeah,
numbers.
I think like with switching the offense design, you know, Brandon Ingram, he's the type of player he's gonna get his regardless. You don't need. With wings that skilled, you don't need to get them in the set in the play because they're going to get theirs regardless. They have the skill enough to get theirs. With Zion, I think it's good that they switched the offense and primary put it on him. But I think it's interesting that J.J. Redick said that, you know, because going back to the draft, you know, RJ Barrett gets drafted to New York. John Moran gets drafted to Memphis. Zion gets drafted to New Orleans. And with Zion and Ja, you've seen two guys in a pretty small market and two guys with teams that haven't really seen success in terms of a championship, playing with undermining coaches or new coaches and playing with undermining rosters, still putting on performances and doing their thing. So I think it's a blessing in disguise for them too. And shout out to Zion, man. Like you said, superstar in the making.
He should have been a New York Knick.
No.
If he was on the Knicks, imagine the marketability and hype around him. We'd be on national.
Do you think he would have picked up Julius Randle still?
I don't know. I think they could fit together too. If I'm being honest, I think.
Well, now Julius now. You think Julius last year though?
Julius last year was bad coaching, a combination of bad coaching.
Well, you had.
But with the Pelicans, Randall was good though.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to take that leap with the Knicks, but their coach was just bad in Fizdale. Yeah, but
so what do you guys think? What's Zion's ceiling for you guys?
I think Zion's a top 10 player in the league. I think he can be just as good as Giannis, if not better.
I would agree with that. Like ceiling wise,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What's ceiling wise?
And the difference between Giannis and Zion now is I think Zion is a better shooter.
He just doesn't shoot it.
Yeah, but when he does,
Yeah.
he makes it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so-
think he's at 35% this year.
Yeah, he's around that 34, 35%.
Yeah, 35%, but he only attempts a half a three a game.
Yeah.
So if he shot it, his percentage would probably go down. But if he could keep it around like 30%, like that's at least respectable.
Yeah, I think the only difference with me and them two is Giannis' defensive impact. I think that
Yeah,
that would
Zion
be
is still a.
he's horrible
bad
on ball.
defender.
Like he's good off help.
No,
he's
I don't
all
think
right.
he's a good help defender.
I think he
still
shows
trying
his
to process the game.
flashes though, like flashes where he can be that guy. But I think on ball he's really bad
And that's the thing. Usually, the most athletic players are usually not the best defenders.
because all they want to
It's-
do is block.
Yes,
They have
athletic,
no timing.
to be a good defender, it's mostly about positioning and IQ. And Zion, yes, he's athletic, but in terms of processing the game and trying to be a help defender, that's not what he is.
Well, I think
at all.
I think he has a knack for some things like defensively down low around the rim. I think he has a knack for like one rebounding. He's got a crazy ability to track the ball off the rim.
Are we counting that as defense though?
Defensive rebounding.
Yes, like
You have to.
defense though.
Oh, I mean,
I don't know if I'd classify rebounding as like defense,
I
know
you
it's
have
important,
To. Yeah, I think it is.
but I don't know if that's defense.
It depends on the scenario.
I think it's how to stop the offense from having other possession, but in terms of how to stopping them from scoring, like that possession, I don't think.
I think
rebounding
if
is.
I'm guarding you down low and I get a stop on you and I get the defensive rebound, that counts as defense. I think scenarios matter in the sense of defense because
I get what you're saying.
people get defensive rebounds by just running out and going to get the ball, attracting the ball. So it depends on scenario. I mean, Zion has a lot to work on. He's still only like 20 years old, right? Like I don't even think he turned 20 yet. Yeah, he's mad young. So I think I like the progression with all three guys. You know, Zion, RJ, John Moran. I like the progression.
Big three.
Yeah, I like the progression. They're slowly, you can tell they're going to be stars in this league. I like the progression that they're making. RJ having the best coach. He's getting the help he needs. Ja, he's in a small town. You know, he's putting on for Memphis. And Zion with New Orleans. I think Zion would be the only one that they'll probably hold him back because of the Pelicans. But I like the progression so far with them three.
Yeah, if Zion can improve his defense, personally, I think he could be averaging around 2 blocks a game if he really was a good defender and understood that side of the game.
He's got a long way to go too.
Yeah, but
I hope
I think
injuries
he
don't
could.
mess him up.
He could, honestly. But on to the next subject. This is an under the radar player, and on Pick a Side, we talk about under the radar players here. His name is Moses Brown. And Riv is a big fan. He owns 5 jerseys of Moses Brown dating back to his high school days. And he owns his UCLA jersey. But Moses Brown, he's been playing really well for OKC. He's averaging 9 and 8. But per 36, he's averaging 17 and 15. And he's had some monster performances. He had 21 and 23 against the Celtics. He had 20 and 12 against Toronto. And he had 20-16 with 5 blocks against the Chicago Bulls. And did OKC find a diamond in the rough here? I mean, I'm pretty sure he was undrafted.
Oh, no, he was definitely undrafted. I think, like, Moses Brown, he's kind of fit for this type of NBA, skinny, mobile type big. I think with OKC, you're starting to see them guys starting to find guys that even Luke Dortz, he was undrafted, so getting him in there, getting Moses Brown, getting those old guys out of there, letting the young guys play. Shaw hasn't been playing the last couple of games. You see Dio Maledon, he's been playing good. So it's good that they find these type of young pieces. And I know they just signed him to like a 3-year, right?
Who?
Moses.
I'm not even sure if they did.
I'm pretty sure
They just gave him a deal after he had that performance against Boston. They gave him a deal. So yeah, I think they found, I wouldn't say a diamond, but I'd say they found something.
I would say though that getting an undrafted player and turning him into, I think Moses Brown is going to become a rotational piece for them. That's finding a diamond in
Is
the rough.
Duncan Robinson a diamond in the rough? Or is he a gold chain?
But
I don't know. I think he's. I would say gold chain. Gold chain.
What? So Moses Brown is a gold chain, or is he a
I think
Cuban
he's a
link?
little bit lower right now.
He's a Cuban link diamond, or just a regular gold chain.
He can't, if Duncan's a gold chain, he's a Cuban link.
So Moses is a Cuban link if Duncan's a gold chain.
I remember Moses when he was in high school in New York. He was this crazy, highly touted prospect. He went to UCLA. He had a pretty good career there.
He played with Jalen Hands.
Yeah, there was that moment of them where Jalen Hands is like lifting his head up after he was hanging his head. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've seen it. It's funny. I'd have been dumb mad.
But I think he's got a really great mindset from what I remember hearing of him through his high school days, UCLA days. And he was tearing it up in the G League, too. He led the G League in rebounding, if I'm not mistaken, 14 rebounds a game. And he also led the G League in offensive rebounding by almost a whole 2 rebounds. So he is a really great rebounder, and he's continued that in the NBA. In his time in the league so far, he's in the 98th percentile defensive rebounding and 93rd percentile offensive rebounding. And in his starts, he averaged 14 points, 15 rebounds, and 2 blocks. So, like, he has really been keeping up that level of play. Now, I also think some of that comes with the fact he's been given a really big role in those starts because the Thunder don't have that much talent, especially with Shea going down now. But I think they got a guy who can really play a role for them over the next couple of years, especially as they start to bring in talent. He's got a really high motor. He can create his own shot. He's great defensively and rebounding. So I think they got a guy who's going to be in their rotation for the next few years. And getting that out of an undrafted guy, like, you don't find that. So
You don't.
a lot of credit to the Thunder and the fact
Mitchell
that
Robinson and him. What's the comparison? There's a comparison there.
I was even gonna say I was gonna go further, not further. I was gonna say, like, looking into the draft, getting a guy like Moses Brown, they don't have to go look at Evan Mobley. You know, getting a guy like him was the same build, same type of player in a sense. Obviously, Evan Mobley's younger, but now you go look at other places you can fit because you now have a potential rotational piece that you can just slide in there, so you don't have to look at a big man like Evan Mobley. You could look at the Jonathan Kumingas, the Jalen Suggs. Like, you can go look deeper.
And look at like what they got right now. Shea,
That locker room
Dort,
is lit.
Moses
Gotta
Brown, even Poku, like, they're going to have a really long, lengthy, great defensive young core to build around as they now enter 17 picks, or I think it's 17 first-rounders and
34 picks in
second
general.
The thing about it is that you mentioned his high school days. He was a 24th ranked prospect in ESPN's top 100 class of 2018. So he's a highly touted prospect. He's 7'2", 245, and he can move. So, like, you don't find too many guys that are 7'2", that can move like that. He reminds me a lot of Rudy Gobert, and I know that's a big comparison, but, I mean, Rudy Gobert was not supposed to be Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert,
that's a diamond.
he was supposed to be that.
Defensively, he reminds me of Claxton.
Rudy
Yo,
Gobert,
he looks like I thought he was Claxton for like a short
Rudy
minute.
Gobert was the worst rated 2K player, I think.
I thought it was Jeremy Lin. Oh, as a rookie.
Rudy Gobert had like a 59 rating.
Jesus Christ.
I
How do you
think-
go that low?
I think an interesting thing about Moses Brown, well, there's 2 things that I think are really interesting about it. One, you look at the Thunder with these 34 picks over the next, like, however many years it is. Look at the talent that they're finding in undrafted guys like Brown, like Dort. Like, they are hitting on some later picks. Even Poku was a pretty late pick, if I'm not mistaken.
He was a mystery.
17th
Yeah.
pick, I think.
So like, they are getting great value at their picks and undrafted guys. So when they start getting high value first round picks, that's scary with the scouting department they've developed. And then from a sense of Moses Brown, he was class of 2018 high school, if I'm not mistaken, and then left UCLA after 1 year. And now you look at him 2 years later. Think about, he would have been leaving college after his 3rd year. I think a lot of guys these days are leaving college too early, and you see them struggle at the beginning, and a lot of them end up finding their stride later on. And it took 2 years in the G League, but he's starting to find his stride now. Like, I saw Josh Christopher committed to the draft today. I thought he would have been another guy who really could have used another year or 2 in college. And it takes some time. So I think we got to stop judging players off 1 year in the league, give them some time to develop, especially when they're one-and-done guys. And I think this is another case of that.
I mean, OKC has been finding a lot of young talent. I mean, you mentioned Poku. Poku is a unicorn. He just hasn't been hitting his shots. That's really, but he's been getting to his spots.
He plays hard too.
Yeah, he just hasn't been hitting his shots. But in terms of handling the ball, shooting from the outside, his shooting stroke, I mean, they all look nice. And then you look at guys like Isaiah Roby, who's not too bad. He's playing pretty good. Teo Maladone, he's a really good guard. I mean, he could play the 2 or the 1, and he plays phenomenal at the 1. Very smooth, a good defender, a good passer. He plays the game the right way. Then you mentioned Dort.
Then the guy leading the charge.
And now Moses Brown. I mean, they got a lot of guys that have been flying under the radar. And nobody thought that OKC was going to be a competitive team this year. We all thought that they were going to be really bad, but they're 20-27.
And they're in games.
Yes.
They're in a lot of games that they shouldn't be in.
They're 13th in the West, but that's just because the West is so crazy. But OKC, everybody had them pretty much marked down as the last team in the NBA. Nobody thought they were going to be competitive like this.
I think that's that. Shout out to the coaching staff. Shout out to the player development team. Shout out to the scouts. Shout out to the players. I think this young team is really finding its way together, and it's gonna definitely, it's gonna benefit them down the stretch. I am curious to see how this team is gonna go come free agency. I hope they don't spend big, and I hope they wait the process because I think they're gonna hit on a lot of drafts. So I don't think they need to go out and get big time names. I think they can just, get some good complementary pieces and just ride out the draft, in my opinion.
They could hit on their draft. If they hit on half of their draft picks over those 34 picks, they won't have enough room to sign all of them.
In my opinion, I think
They just need to hit on Cade.
In my opinion, I think OKC fans should want 2 players in the draft. My top 2 at least. Cade is obviously one. 2 is Jonathan Kuminga.
For them.
Really?
Yes, for them. Yeah, I think over Jalen Suggs, over Jalen Green.
Is he
I
your
think
number 2 overall?
if I was OKC, I would take him number 2 overall.
He's just in general.
Yes,
he's my number 2 overall too. I think with this type of league, you need guys like that. Like he's a wing.
He can really pass.
Play 1 through 5. He can pass. The shooting, it's gonna get better. He's long. He's lengthy. Like he's kind of like Kawhi PG built. Those are the guys you need. I like Jalen Suggs though. He'd be like number 3 for me. But
I like Jalen Suggs too. But I think
he's a team. It depends on the team for him.
Yeah, I like Jalen Suggs too. But just knowing that Shea can play the 1,
and he's 6'6".
Teo Maladon doesn't look too bad playing the 1 of the combo guard position. And Jalen Green, I just think he's a scorer. But I think Kuminga, he could come into OKC and be probably their second best defender on the team, and he can be a really good facilitator and just play that wing spot very well. So that's why I would love Kuminga if I was OKC.
You put Dortz at the 2 and Kuminga at the 3 with Shai at the 1.
So this is my question to you guys. There are a lot of players that are under the radar right now. So who do you think is the biggest kept secret in the NBA right now that a lot of NBA fans, casual NBA fans, don't know about? Obviously, Moses Brown is one of them. Okay. But if you were to name another one.
I'll give you another Jersey guy that I think has really gone under the radar.
Are we talking about college and NBA or
NBA?
Just NBA?
Nas Reed.
Nas Reed,
the Timberwolves. They've been terrible, but Nas Reed is...
It's another guy on the team I was going to say.
He went undrafted too.
Yeah.
I was going to say Jaden McDaniels.
He's been playing a big role for them.
Yeah, Jaden McDaniels.
I was going to say Jaden McDaniels. He's starting to find his way. That's another guy people probably don't know nothing about.
Yeah, and again, that could be a case of they're really bad, and that helps them,
I mean, he's young. It helps the development process.
Yeah, but, I mean, Nas Reed is a guy who, even from the time he was in high school, you can kind of see he had that NBA skill set. He has the size. He could shoot it. He could play make a little bit, and he could defend the interior, and he could move a little bit for his size. So, I always kind of thought he would be successful in the league, and now he's really getting a chance.
I think it benefited him that the league transitioned towards the small ball 5
exactly.
with him being 6'9", 6'10". I think that's what really helped him. Like, all right, we can see this, and he plays well with that team. Him and Cat are out there. He still plays well because Cat can shoot, so he can go down low. So I hope they keep him. Honestly, that's a good team with a lot of good talent.
Yeah, they just don't have a good coach. That's really their problem right now. We'll see.
They're never healthy too.
Exactly. That's
never healthy.
So over the past couple of days, there was this brewing beef between Stephen A. Smith and Russell Westbrook. Stephen A. basically said that Russell Westbrook's stats don't matter because he hasn't won a championship, and his legacy is going to be just that. Westbrook answered back and said, my legacy is going to be what I do to help the community and all this other stuff. So this is a question for you guys. What will Russell Westbrook's legacy be? And in my opinion, he's a great stats guy. He's averaging a triple-double, 21, 10, and 10 right now. He's averaged a triple-double in 4 of the last 5 years, but he's not a winner.
I think
the thing about Russell Westbrook, and I'll just say it outright, him averaging triple-doubles has made everybody numb to triple-doubles now.
Yeah.
Because he's been averaging them. He's just made everybody numb to it. And I'm not trying to discredit what Russell Westbrook does because what he does is truly special. But it's not even about being a champion because Stephen A. was just pointing at the fact that he hasn't won a championship. For me, it's the fact that you haven't been out the first round and the fact that when you have been in the playoffs, you have played like garbage. You look at when he won MVP, he averaged 37, 11, and 11 against Houston. They lost in 5.
He put his heart on that court.
That's a fact. But then he shot 39% from the field.
Yeah.
He shot 26% from 3.
Yeah.
He averaged 6 turnovers per game.
Yeah.
So you take those 6 turnovers from that 11 assists, he's averaging 5 assists. You know, for every assist he's getting a turnover. That's Russell Westbrook. 2017 with PG, he averaged 29, 12, and 7. Pretty good series. He shot 40% from the field and 36% from 3, but averaged 5 turnovers per game, and he averaged 7 assists in that series. Then his last year in OKC, he averaged 23, 8, and 12, and shot 36% from the field and 32% from the 3. When that series, you were trying to trash talk Dame the entire time, and he
against LA.
Yes, and he completely outplays you. Now I'm talking about OKC versus LA.
So he did it against LA too.
Yes.
When he waved goodbye.
Yes, and then versus LA,
Yeah, he was talking crazy.
Russell Westbrook was the reason the Rockets got gentlemen swept against the Lakers. He was the reason. They were leaving
They played him like Bledsoe.
They were leaving him wide open. I mean, Russell Westbrook was at the 3-point line, and Anthony Davis was getting a soda at McDonald's. That's how open he was leaving Russell Westbrook that entire series. He shot 24% from 3, and Harden literally was getting double teamed at half court because they were leaving Russell Westbrook wide open and daring him to shoot. It's not about how good Russell Westbrook is. We know he's a great player, but in the playoffs, he doesn't play good. He drops off in the playoffs tremendously. Harden got slandered against LA. He got slandered for that Lakers series when he averaged 30 and he was efficient. And Russell Westbrook has people who watch the game and I was a Rockets fan at the time. I was tight. I was tight that Russell Westbrook was that bad. But ultimately, Russ's legacy is in basketball, at least, because this is not your legacy as a human being.
Anybody who's in the NBA giving back to the community is going to have a crazy legacy.
This is his legacy in terms of basketball. He is going to be known as a player who put up the most meaningless stats of all time. And yes, he's phenomenal. He's a great player. But ultimately, you get judged off of winning. And Russ hasn't won. It's not even about the championship. It's just about getting out of the first round. And he hasn't done that. Like I said, he's great. But in an era where social media is dominating the narrative, mainstream sports is dominating the narrative, having a ring is more important than ever.
Yeah.
In terms of judging a player. You know, I'm mentioning him again, Harden. I mention him because if he doesn't retire with the ring, he's going to be the best player to never win a ring of all time, up there with Karl Malone and Charles Barkley. But same thing with Harden. He gets slandered to this day because he has not won a championship. Russell Westbrook, if he doesn't win, not even a championship, but if he doesn't start winning and leading teams and showing he can be a good mentor.
And where is that going to happen?
Exactly. He wanted to leave the Rockets to go and run his show. Not to compete for a championship, just to run his show and stat his pads more. And he went to Washington, and Washington is probably one of the worst teams in the NBA right now. So because of that, you question whether Russell Westbrook really wants to win a championship or even wants to make a deep playoff run. And to this point, it just seems like even though he has these triple doubles, yes, they're phenomenal, they're meaningless.
Yeah. Not to cut you off, but just because what you just said, I think it goes along perfectly with it. One, I think he's going to go down with Charles Barkley in that great player that just never got over the hump category. Like, I don't even think he'll be considered like John Stockton and Karl Malone.
I don't even think Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one.
But what I wanted to say is, I don't know if you guys heard Stephen A. Smith's response to Nina and Russell Westbrook.
Yes,
he put out like a 9-minute video. I listened to the whole thing, and it was actually like on point. I don't normally agree with Stephen A., but I agree with everything he said because he said like they acted like it was some personal attack on Russell Westbrook, but at the end of the day, like that's Stephen A.'s job to talk about what he does on a basketball court, just like it's Russell Westbrook's job to go out and play basketball. So none of this is like personal attacks at Russell Westbrook. He seems to be a great dude, a great father, great for the community. But when it comes to basketball, we expect him to be a champion because he is a great player. You get what I'm saying? Like we hold him to that standard and we judge him like with that bar set, like we raised that bar that high for him because what he does with the triple doubles and what he does with the stats. He puts up those great numbers, so you want him to be a champion. And I think that's almost complimentary to him as a player. Like, if he wasn't good, you wouldn't be talking about, is he a champion or not? But since he has reached that level and he's been that guy to set the bar statistically, you expect more out of him, and he hasn't delivered on that.
The thing about me, before you go, Riff, sorry to cut you off, but the thing about me is that what I think, I've never expected Russell Westbrook to be a champion. Just his game is not championship point guard-like game. The poise, the recklessness he plays with doesn't scream championship point guard.
So when you were screaming Rockets were going to win a chip last year.
That's because of James Harden.
All right, just making
and
sure.
you know it's because of James Harden.
I'm just making sure we get that out the
but
way. Okay.
This is the thing. I've never expected Russell Westbrook to be a champion. The reason why I'm judging him is off of his decisions to try and play meaningful basketball, and that's in the playoffs. The same thing happened with Melo. When Melo decided to stay with the Knicks instead of going to Chicago, he got slandered because why would you stay with the Knicks who aren't in a good situation instead of going to Chicago who can win now?
Prime D-Rose.
Carmelo got slandered for that. And Russell Westbrook, you know you're declining. You instead of wanting to go to a team and take a lesser role and actually play meaningful basketball, you want to go to a team like Washington and just have great stats. And I think that's the thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way. Chris Paul, I know Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul have gotten compared to each other. The difference with Chris Paul is that he's, in every situation he's been in, has made an impact on winning and has really developed the younger players. You look at Chris Paul in Houston. Houston almost beat the juggernaut Warriors. You look at Chris Paul in OKC. Developed those young players nicely. They went to the playoffs. You look at Phoenix now. They're the second seed in the West. Who would have thought they would have been the second seed? I thought highest they were going to be was third. Right now they're second. So Chris Paul has had an impact on winning at an older age, whereas Westbrook, it seems like more and more, all he does really care about is inflating his stats.
You know, I'm glad you watched that Stephen A. Smith because it was interesting. And, like, that's one of the problems I've had with people today, like athletes now. They're very sensitive to what these media men said, and that's their job. Their job is to, like, even us, we have to judge what you do in that basketball court. We're not coming at you. Russell Westbrook does right for the community. He does right for all these kids. We're not coming at you on that level. But in terms of a basketball player and what you do in the basketball court, that's what we do. And I just feel like with him saying that, like, his legacy was just making it into the league. No, you were a lottery pick. You were projected to be this type of great player. You were projected to be this stud. When you won MVP, you were on top of the mountain. We were thinking of you like some people were saying you were better than point guards that had more, that had their careers meant more than yours. So when you talk about Chris Paul, yeah, I think like I would put him in that category in terms of guys who don't make it far in the playoffs. But in terms of meaningful basketball, Chris Paul has obviously impacted the game way more than Russell Westbrook. Just they haven't gotten as far in the playoffs. They haven't won as much. But Westbrook, you know, shout out. He is going to go down as the top 10 point guard ever. You know, so that's a good thing. His legacy is forever going to be tarnished because he doesn't have a ring, and that's the same with Harden, Charles Barkley. I wouldn't put him in the Harden, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton, because those guys, they played meaningful basketball regardless if they didn't win or not. They got deep into the playoffs. Harden has been deep into the playoffs. Stockton and Malone. Charles Barkley went to a final, so he's been deep. I just think with Westbrook, you know, we want to say he's the Oscar Robertson of our era, but Oscar Robertson, you know, he won. So I think Westbrook's telling us he wants to go there and run his show. I think that told us all we needed to know about Russell Westbrook. He wants to win on his terms, and that's the stubbornness of him. He's gonna end up like the Melo of our generation, a guy who wants to do it.
Same generation, though.
Yeah, like a guy who wants to do it his way, his only way, and he doesn't see it any other way. And I think that's what's gonna haunt him forever.
Yeah, and you kind of hit on something there that I think was interesting. Like Stephen A. said at the end of what he was saying, he's also from the trenches. Like if you've heard Stephen A.'s story, like he came up from nothing.
That's
and,
hilarious.
And he turned himself like when you look at what he's doing in his field, like he's a champion in his field. And he said, I could have very easily gotten to ESPN, rested on my laurels. The fact that
he's the highest paid,
right?
right?
Yeah. And he said, like, I could have just sat here and said, I don't care about ratings because I'm, paying for my family. I'm making sure my family is well off, and that's my legacy. But like when you're like, he's still out here trying to get those ratings, and that's why the people at ESPN love him. If you're Russell Westbrook, like, what do you think the general manager of the Wizard is thinking, like, looking at his best player saying that he doesn't really care about winning championships because his legacy is that he's, like, improved
I think
his
he said
family.
that.
I just want to put
But
this
you get
into
what I'm saying? Like,
I just want to put this into context what Russell Westbrook said, right? It's like if I'm an engineer and I'm working on a structure and designing a blueprint. The building collapses and somebody's like, you did such a shitty job at designing this blueprint. I expect more out of you because you're my top engineer. And I'm like,
You still paid me.
but yo, I still treat my wife right. I still hang out with my kids. I'm charitable.
Yeah.
So why does it matter that I fucking fucked up this building? So that's the thing is like, yes, whatever you are as a person, you are, but we're not talking about that. We judge everybody off of their profession because we don't really know your personal life.
Yeah. If he had come out and said something about Russell Westbrook as a person, that's a different
I'm gonna
story.
be 100 with you. We don't care about your personal life because it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're talking about you as a basketball player.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm 100% sure you're probably a good man. You take care of your community. That's great. Like in terms of a humanitarian, that's a different conversation than what
But
we're talking about.
Stephen A. doesn't get paid to talk about that.
Yeah, he doesn't. That's not his job. His job is to talk about you in the basketball court, and the fact that you're so sensitive too. I feel like that answer was a get back because he felt hurt about what.
Like a defense
he
mechanism.
felt hurt by what Stephen A. Smith. I don't. You care about winning a championship. You went on record and said, "I want to win a championship more than anything." So you don't. Everybody walks into the league wanting to win an NBA championship. You don't walk in and say, "I just want to take care of my family." Probably the guys who go to college for free, that's the guys who say that. But in terms of the NBA, the guys walk in, they want to win an NBA championship. And with him being at that high-level top 10, some people even said he was a top 5 player, but being at that high-level player, that high-caliber player, you definitely wanted to win a championship. And the fact that you said that as a defense mechanism because Stephen A. Smith came for you as a basketball player is messed up because it's the truth. You haven't, aside from that MVP, you haven't done anything of real me. I mean, you broke the first time you got a triple double. We was like, all right,
And you know what's
crazy.
What I don't like the most. What people say. This is just me being nitpicky. This is just my personal opinion. But I hate whenever people debate basketball. There are always those people like, just enjoy the game for what it is. We can love every player. We can love Harden. We can love Westbrook. We can love Luka. Like. Nah, bro.
That's the fun of the competition.
Yes, the fun about it is debating these players. And not only that, just because these guys are great at basketball does not mean they are the void of criticism. You can still criticize them because they are not perfect. Every single great player has a flaw. Even Skip Bayless has made a living criticizing LeBron. He's the most perfect basketball player probably has ever played a game. So obviously you can always criticize these guys on some level because even Skip, for his like crazy takes that he has, when he talks about LeBron, he always backs up his points. He always uses hard statistics.
It may be wrong, but
evidence.
he be coming in with some facts.
Yes, to back up his point. So even him, like, there is a argument for why you can criticize this guy. So that's why I just don't agree with that all. Just love every player and enjoy basketball. I do enjoy basketball, but that doesn't mean I can't say, oh, this guy needs to get better at this and this and that. Yes, like I just don't think that makes much sense.
If we didn't want to debate and criticize, we wouldn't keep score. We would just have them go out, play 48 minutes, and high five at the end and go to the locker room. You know what I'm saying? Like the reason it's so fun is because of the competition, and the competition breeds discussion and criticism, and that's part of the career. You know that when you sign up for it, like just like we know signing up for the podcast, we're gonna get negative comments on stuff. That's just the fact of the matter. Nobody's gonna agree with everything you do. When you sign up to play NBA basketball, part of it is knowing that people are going to hate you. And that's just what it is. Like, you got to get used to that.
Yeah, and that's why, but ultimately, I don't think Russell Westbrook will ever win a championship.
I mean, I've gone on
His
record.
ship has sailed.
I've gone on record and I've said I always used to say it. Him and Harden were the two guys I believed would never win the championship.
Harden will, though.
Well, yeah, now because the Nets. But I always felt those were the two guys I felt like would never win a championship. And I'm going to stand on that until I'm obviously corrected.
But I think Harden always had a better chance to.
Oh, 100%.
Russell Westbrook's game style just doesn't
he would have to title
make it happen.
He would have to title hop.
Yeah.
at some point late in.
I mean, we've
the
been
late
waiting
stages of
on
his
Russell
career.
Westbrook to stop being so stubborn since he was 23.
Yeah.
You know, right now he's what, 30,
And that-
33? Like, we've been waiting on this for a long time.
And that led KD out of town. Realistically, when you think about it. Like
yeah,
that,
he
that's
left
the
because of
discussion,
Westbrook
yeah.
pretty much, and because they didn't have much shooters or
He couldn't
shot
win with
creators.
he couldn't win with those cats.
Kevin Durant and Michael Rapaport had beef. They went on a back and forth. I believe Kevin Durant recently apologized, right?
He apologized for his language,
Okay.
but I don't think he apologized for what he was saying.
So I don't know if you want to read it, Riv,
Of
because
course I do.
okay. So just to let you guys know, no filter. We're gonna
Going
just
straight.
read this straight up and how it is.
So Michael Rapaport tweeted, KD seemed deeply in his feelings with the NBA on TNT crew after the game. Damn it, he's super sensitive about everything. Don't do the interview. KD sends the tweet to him and says, you a bitch. So Rapaport says, just do the fucking interview. And if you're upset about something, they've said, say something. Up there looking like you were going to cry and shit. Kevin Durant replies back, I did the interview, you dickhead. Tell your baby daddy Chuck to be better at his job and frame his questions better. He gave me 2 options for that dumbass question. Yes or no. Then KD sends it again. He sends I don't know why. Yeah, he sends a screenshot and then he says, I heard it all before, you cunt. Chunk doesn't need you as security, you pale pasty guzzling bitch. I swear I'm gonna spit in your face when I see it dirty. Bet your life on it. Meet me on West 17th tomorrow at 10. Or better yet, what's your address? 10 a.m. at Catch Steak on the corner. Meet me there, pussy. Rapaport says, go help the kids in Brownsville, Brooklyn. Stop being a fucking puzz. Then KD says, you a bitch for even caring how I do an interview. All you do is cocksuck other men for attention. Trump didn't pay attention to your sorry ass, so now you want to use everybody else to get views and laughs. Your life is a joke, you fucking pale cock sucker. Go get some sun. It's fucking with your brain. Piece of shit. So then Rapaport says, go to Brownsville and help the people that need it, goofball. And then KD says, you go do it, you clown. Good for you. But nobody gives a fuck. Suck a dick. Can't wait to tell you all this in person. And then KD finally finishes it off. You called your lawyer like the pussy you are. Ha 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 ha. You couldn't talk. Portnoy talking shit. Defamation of character. Laughing emojis. Pussy ass want a lawyer up. Your wife mad as fuck because you wasting that little bit of money on the lawyers because you can't take a joke. Ha ha ha. How pussy are you? Your wife doesn't even respect your bitch ass. And that's what he said.
So first of all, this is the thing. This is what I want to say about it. One, I think, at first, Michael Rapaport got tight because he exposed these messages because he said KD was talking about my wife and stuff like that. But KD was not talking about your wife. KD just said your wife does not respect you. He did not say anything mean about your wife. But what's hilarious about this is that, one, I didn't think KD could be like this.
Well, before what was Michael Rapaport talking about before
He
that?
was talking about a post game, the opening night of the season. You remember the Nets played the Warriors, and they interviewed KD after the game, and Chuck asked him something. I'm trying to look it up right now. I forget what it was, but he asked him a dumb question, and it was after people were like, everybody in the media was all over Kyrie because this was when he was like burning the sage and saying he wasn't going to talk to the media. And I think he asked him something about Kyrie, and it was literally a yes or no question. And KD said, yeah. And then he just stared at the camera, and it was like 15 seconds of dead silence, and then he just walked off.
That's funny.
But I think that was like KD's way of like protesting the media going to Kyrie.
So there are two ways to look at this, right? So there is one way that you side with Michael Rapaport, and you think that KD was out of line, he was out of bounds. There's the other way you look at this, and you think
you pasty cum guzzling. Yo,
you could think that KD, what he did, I mean, it was justified. And the way I look at this is, one, I look at this in multiple ways. I think KD is bigger than this. I do expect him to be bigger than this, and not. I understand one response, but multiple responses, double texting, triple texting, quadruple texting. I think that's a little bit too much for Kevin Durant, and I think that's he's too big for that. But in terms of like him responding back, I think that's fine. Michael Rapaport, he makes a living off of
Trolling.
being a troll.
Yeah.
That's what he is. He's a troll.
6ix9ine
he is a
without the
troll.
rap career.
Yeah, and I think this whole narrative that you can't clap back at people just because you're famous or you have a following is really dumb, because a lot of people are just asking for it. And then when you do respond back, it's like everybody's so in shock. Oh my God, Kevin Durant responded back. It's a whole headline. I'm on Kevin Durant's side with this. I mean, I think Michael Rapaport, he's shown to be a wuss. Honestly, in this, especially exposing the DMs, bro, like, come on.
I think. Oh, did you find it?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hear it.
Well, I mean,
Do the question.
you want me to play it?
No.
I can play.
We could just go on with the segment. You could just send it to me on Twitter.
I'll
by
send
DM.
I'll send it to you guys in our chat. It's just as funny as I remember, by the way.
Yeah,
it's
I wanted to
literally
know the
like
question.
10 to 15 seconds of dead silence.
Can you read the question? Like, is the question there?
No, it's just a video.
I don't really. I'm not on neither side. I do feel like right response, wrong way to approach it, in a sense. Like, I feel like he could have left out all the extreme disrespect. I feel like he could have approached him in his DMs. Could have did a little cussing. I feel like the whole going over I think he went a little over edge with the disrespect, but I like it. I like him going back and talking to him the way he talked a little bit. I like them going back and forth. I think it's good for sports. I think it's good for us. And I think at some point, media has to get checked. They say a lot of disrespectful things. And I think players have to hold themselves to a high standard, and they can't respond to this media in a disrespectful way. But I feel like what KD did, he kind of put Rapaport in check. Like, yo, I may be an NBA player, but I'm also like that. I'm also a hood guy, and I can talk to you the way I want to talk to you, and you're not going to do anything about it. So, I feel like, in a sense, like, you got to understand. Even like this one time, this guy said something about De'Aaron Fox. About how he kind of disrespected De'Aaron Fox. So I feel like these media guys get a little over edge and get a little bit too disrespectful to these guys. And I feel like if they can do that, NBA players have a right to talk back to them. And if they keep it in the same disrespect realm, we can keep it, kind of laughable and kind of like, oh, he's going to him. But I feel like KD did go a little too far. But I like the response. I feel like he's not wrong in this aspect.
I would 100% agree with you. I think that Michael Rapaport is a professional troll, and he got kind of like a taste of his own medicine. And I guarantee you, he was licking his chops when he saw
he's
these
probably
responses
laughing and
from
giggling
KD,
about it.
because this is the most recognition that he'll get for months now. And then somebody else will go back at him, and he'll get that recognition again. That's how he makes a living. And that's cool. Like, that's his thing. He makes a lot of money off of it. That's good for him. But, like...
Well, I don't know, because KD did say that he wastes all his money on lawyers. So,
but
does he?
I thought that it was...
What's his net worth?
I had no problem with KD going back at him. I think that, like Joel kind of said, it's kind of ridiculous. I shouldn't say it's ridiculous, but I think it's weird how we hold, like, athletes and anybody with a platform to this totally different standard of, like, they can't even respond to anybody, or they're looked at as, like, soft for it. I think that's crazy. But I do think KD went a little bit overboard.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But I don't have an issue with him responding. It was just his response that I think it was a little bit much. But
his net worth is $12 million.
Oh, okay. So he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
Can't even
So
be
he
mad
has
at that.
money, yeah.
I can't even be mad at that. 12 million though. What does he do?
well, we were going through his movies.
Yeah.
He's been in a bunch of movies. It's just he hasn't.
I was
been
looking
in,
at Higher Learning. It's actually Lawrence Fishburne was in it. Ice Cube.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, Tyra Banks, and they got awards for
But
it.
that's the
What
thing.
has he been on as of recent, though?
It was a high profile movie.
I don't think he's ever been a lead.
So he also
Definitely.
appeared in Friends and Prison Break and The Big Bang Theory. So he's made a lot of appearances.
So he's an appearance guy.
Yeah, yeah.
He's in this show called Atypical.
Whatever
I've
that
never
is.
heard of that.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that either. It's on Netflix. It's a comedy drama. It has 3 seasons.
That's pretty cool. It's
It
on
has
Netflix alone.
it has an 87% rating on Rotten Tomatoes,
I'm not hearing Rotten
but a
Tomatoes.
95% score on audience. But a 95% score on audience
I
score.
think Rotten Tomatoes gave Avengers like a bad rating, and I was like, what?
People do use that a lot though to know if it's good or not.
Anything that gives Avengers a bad rating, I don't look at it.
You got to respect the hustle, I guess.
Well, he's worth 12 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's worth 12 mil, but to
It's
me,
KD.
I do think that basketball players have the right to respond back, and I think most people have been agreeing with that sentiment. As you said, Michael Rapaport is kind of like he's always talking, he's always loud mouthing. He's from New York, so I mean it makes sense.
No way.
He is from New York.
Doesn't act like it.
Yeah, I think he's from where? Long Island, probably.
Oh, that doesn't count.
So what counts as New York?
Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, Harlem. Like I know it's in New York, but I'm just saying like it really like okay, he's from Long Island. All right.
Let's see where he's from right now.
I think he's from Staten. If he's from Staten, it really doesn't count.
Staten Island. I'm trying to find.
Well, that's
it.
that's one of the 5 boroughs, correct?
Harlem.
He was born in New
Bronx,
York City.
Brooklyn. What? Okay. There's
He
boroughs,
grew up
though.
on the Upper East Side of Manhattan,
Upper East Side. That's downtown.
near 70th and York.
That's not Harlem.
Yeah, the 5 boroughs are the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island.
Yeah, but nobody really. Staten Island is like okay, like it's all right. It's like Fort Lee.
You're just trying to ostracize like a bunch of our viewers.
Nah,
right
because
now.
I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like you say he's from 79th. Like, okay, he was pretty, he had money when he was young. You know, Upper East Side.
The
cool.
Upper East Side isn't in Staten Island.
No, that's what he said he was.
Manhattan.
Oh.
Yeah, he said he was. Yeah, well, I know what I'm doing now. He said he's grew up there and stuff. Michael Rapaport.
No, but yeah, this beef was pretty. In my opinion, I think it was kind of baseless and dumb.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest though, it's like I don't know. I feel like KD. I don't have a problem with him responding, but I also feel like it was really not needed. Like,
I mean, for a
Michael
guy like,
Rapaport.
yeah,
you know what? Also, I didn't like is that Michael Rapaport posted a video about KD giving him tickets to the Warriors game, and he was complaining about where he was sitting, and he went after the game and like confronted KD about like his seats, and KD was like, "Yo, bro, don't come out here no more. You asked for too much."
yeah, that's funny, man.
But somebody else got called out. Anthony Edwards called out RJ Barrett after
I like how you put mad emphasis on his name, like
because
he's
RJ
this
Barrett's
guy.
a star in the making.
He has
But
no right hand. Grown
RJ
man.
Barrett, he does have a right hand now. I don't know. Have you seen him recently?
Yeah, I seen him try to do it in and out with his right, and he almost lost the ball.
So pull up the Bluetooth on the Roadcaster right there. Yeah. So this is what Anthony Edwards said about RJ Barrett.
Possession and how kind of take us through that very last defensive possession and how you guys got this one home.
We told Jaden try not to let Randall catch the ball. We're gonna make somebody else
Into
beat
the
us.
hockey
And
game?
you know, gladly RJ Barrett caught it. And you know, if he would have made the shot, we would live with it. I mean, because that's who we wanted taking the shot. We didn't want anybody else taking it.
Kind of take us
I
through.
love how transparent and genuine Anthony Edwards is.
No, I like him. Like
Yeah.
he says what he needs.
That's how the NBA should be. Like
No,
I would love to hear
I love it.
interviews like
I
that.
love the energy he brings. Like I love the fact that he's gonna say whatever he wants to say, and he doesn't care. And I like it. It brings competitiveness because when the next time they play, it's gonna bring that competitive. Because RJ Barrett, you saw him under the post. He put a laughing emoji. So so you know now he's gonna
Is there
remember
some
that.
underlying beef between RJ Barrett and Anthony Edwards
I don't think there was anything before this.
in high school? And
No, I just think the game plan was just
Yeah,
what it was.
I genuinely don't think he meant it as like a diss at RJ Barrett. I just think he was saying what they were doing.
Remember, you got to
and it
remember,
came across really
he's
bad.
doing what the coach inevitably made. Like the coach, that was the game plan. So the coach probably told him, "We're gonna let RJ get the shots." You know, he's just saying what the coach told him to do. I love it though.
And he's still 19, 20 years old. So
19
like,
probably.
I think Anthony is a year younger. I looked it up.
I really don't think he's thinking about all that when he's doing his interview. Like, oh, how am I going to get in RJ Barrett's head? No, like he's literally just going out there saying whatever comes to his mind. And I thought it was hilarious.
So Barrett had 23 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. He shot 8 for 17 from the field and 3 for 4 from 3. So he actually had a pretty good game, but
That's crazy.
Anthony Edwards had 24, 2, and 3, and he shot 9 for 16 and 2 for 7 from 3. And when this video surfaced, everybody was like, but Edwards is not a good shooter, but Edwards is this, but Edwards is that. And a bunch of RJ Barrett defenders were coming out and defending him. So my question to you guys, who do you think is the better player, Anthony Edwards or RJ Barrett? Who do you believe is a better player?
Okay, so like right now, obviously, I think RJ Barrett is the better player.
Yeah.
I think he's
He's just more polished.
I don't even think he's more polished. I think Anthony Edwards is more polished. I think RJ is more polished for the NBA game. I think
That's what I mean.
Anthony Edwards
Yeah.
is still trying to figure out. I think Anthony has more skill, but I think RJ Barrett, beneficial to Tom Thibodeau and the team he's playing around. I think he's starting to really figure it out. He's still really young too, but I think Anthony, the NBA hasn't caught up with him yet. He's starting to figure it out though. I would take RJ right now, but if you're asking me in 5 years who I think is going to be better, I think Anthony Edwards is going to be a better basketball player than RJ Barrett. That's just me. I think in terms of those two guys, skill for skill, I think honestly, what's the difference between them two right now? Head coach. That's honestly how I feel. I think just the way he's playing, RJ's playing, I think the team he's on, the system he's in is really benefiting. I think what's lacking in Anthony Edwards, he's playing for Minnesota, and the team honestly sucks. But I think Anthony Edwards will be better in 5 years. Down the line, we'll say who's better. I would take Anthony Edwards, but RJ Barrett's better right now.
If you put Anthony Edwards on the Knicks, he's an all-star. He's an all-star on the Knicks.
No, he's
Anthony
really
Edwards is special. He's a special, special talent. A lot of people overlooked him to start the year because he was very inefficient. And also Minnesota, they're losing all the time. But in the last 10 games, he's been averaging 25, 5, and 2. That's something, and the way he's been playing, getting to the rim, shooting, creating his own shot, is something I haven't seen from RJ Barrett yet. And it's something I don't think RJ can develop to the point that Edwards has developed to this point in his career already. And, you know, I understand Edwards' comment towards RJ, let him shoot, because Barrett is not a known shooter. But he has improved as a shooter. He's shooting 34% from 3 this season. So he has improved. But I just believe Anthony Edwards is a superior talent. And I mean, his potential is off the charts. And if he was on the Knicks, he'd be better than RJ Barrett is for the Knicks right now. I would take, if you ask me, would I trade RJ for Edwards right now? I'd do it in a heartbeat.
I think that what you're seeing, you kind of touched on this. What you're seeing out of Anthony Edwards right now, I think the game is slowing down for him much quicker than it has for RJ Barrett, if that makes sense. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
you've seen a slow and steady improvement out of RJ Barrett, I think, since he's came in the league. But Anthony Edwards has really improved so much since he first got in the league a couple of months ago.
And I think it's funny that we say that because, you know, when RJ came into the league, he wasn't dealing with a short off season. He started, I think, from day one, right? Anthony Edwards was coming off the bench. You know, he dealt with a short off season. He didn't have, you know, he was trying to figure things out. His team was, players were in and out of the lineup, so he didn't know who was playing. He didn't know how much help he had. So all that being said, he's still figuring out a little earlier and quicker than RJ. But I think, you know, coming out of high school and coming out of the college, you kind of seen it like Anthony Edwards' game was kind of built for the NBA more. I think RJ Barrett is more like he has a lot to work on, but with RJ, it's more of his intangibles. Like you see his hard work, his work ethic. You see the fact that he's in every day, willing to work, his defensive presence. I think with Anthony, though, the scoring ability was always there. You saw the skill. It was just how fast was he going to be able to adapt in the NBA.
Yeah, I think so, too. I mean, I don't even think the game is necessarily slowed down for Anthony Edwards that much. I just think that he's a better player than RJ, especially when you talk about offensively. His skill set coming into the league was way better than RJ's. Like, RJ has that stiffness to his game, which I think is going to hold him back. But Anthony Edwards is a smooth player. I mean, he's a great ball handler. He's great at finishing. He has tremendous speed. You talk about all the boxes to check when you talk about Edwards and RJ. Anthony Edwards has so many more boxes. He's faster. I think he's stronger. He has a better, like, his jump shot looks better. His percentage is not there, but his jump shot looks better.
He's a more naturally gifted offensive player.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think defensively, Anthony Edwards is very instinctive. He hasn't been a bad defender either. So I just feel like if he was with the Knicks with Tom Thibodeau, we'd be seeing a great player.
I think the odds of him getting to RJ's level defensively is much higher than the odds of RJ reaching what he will become offensively.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if Edwards is that far off from RJ now, though, in defense. I wouldn't even say that.
Maybe it has to do with Thibodeau, but I would give RJ the edge.
I would definitely give RJ, and he's a little bigger in a sense, 6'7". He's a little bigger. Anthony's about 6'5". But, like I said, with RJ, it's going to be beneficial because he's playing under Tom Thibodeau, so it's going to help in his development. I think what would, like I said, what would be the only thing that slow Anthony Edwards down is his coach. I don't even know who's the coach in Minnesota.
Chris Finch.
Word. All right. Who is that? Like,
He was Toronto Raptors assistant.
when they won a chip?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So like I said, I don't even know who Minnesota's coach is. I don't know much of his track record, but I do know Tom Thibodeau's track record. I don't know if I agree with you though, because a lot of guys, I'm a Bulls fan. I've seen Tom Thibodeau's history. He doesn't play rookies a lot, aside from D Rose. He doesn't start them in right away. It kind of takes him some time to really trust in them. So I don't know if Edwards would have got that trust right away. But I agree. I think, Anthony Edwards has that tool set that RJ didn't have coming in.
Yeah, I agree. Now we're going to move on to the football portion of the podcast. Deshaun Watson situation. So over the past couple of weeks, Deshaun Watson's name has been circulating because women have filed lawsuits against him for sexual harassment, I believe.
It's 21 now, right?
Yeah.
21, yes, up to 21 now. So last week we talked about this, but now we're going to give an update on what has happened because new information has surfaced. So an article on Sports Illustrated came out talking about Deshaun Watson. It was a massage therapist named Mary. She told her story to Sports Illustrated about Deshaun Watson, and an interesting fact about her is that she is not filing a lawsuit. So this is all her coming out and just wanting to share her story because Deshaun Watson has been denying this. So there are some theories out there that Tony Busby, the lawyer that's trying to, get Deshaun Watson in trouble or get him acquitted for this, is that he's close with the McNairs and stuff. So this girl coming out kind of gives it even more credibility that may not be the case. So this is what it says in the article. I'm going to read the best points in it. She says, the one thing I kept thinking about is he's about to get traded to another place, Mary says. What if he goes to Atlanta or California or anywhere else? He would have a whole new community of massage therapists to target. So then the next one says, Mary makes it clear that Deshaun Watson did not touch her, nor did he force her into conducting any sexual acts, but she says she did engage in behavior that was both inappropriate and unlike any other interaction that she's ever had with her 1,000 clients that she's had, including other professional athletes. And then she also said, when Deshaun Watson came into the building to get the massage, usually they give you sheets to put over to get the massage. He asked for a big towel. So he got the big towel and he was, draped in the towel, and 45 minutes into the session, he asked if he can take the towel off because it was starting to get itchy. He took the towel off, and when she says he tossed the towel onto the floor, saying it was too itchy, Watson was lying face up on the table, naked and totally uncovered, something Mary says has never happened during any of her other massage appointments. She was quoted in saying, "I was in shock." Watson developed an erection, she says, and also began clenching and slowly thrusting the air. So he was facing
that doesn't
down.
Even sound real.
He was facing down. He was facing down, looking up with his head, and he was thrusting the air. And then after that, Watson's behavior indicated to her that his intentions were different, she adds. There was one point that he did tell me that I could move his penis if I needed to, and I just completely ignored him. She took this as a suggestion to touch his exposed penis. Watson stayed on his back for the entire session while massaging his abdomen. Mary says she noticed different fluids on his stomach, and she said that she thinks it was pre-ejaculation, and Watson has messaged her on Instagram, and Sports Illustrated acquired those messages. So they have the messages from Deshaun Watson's legit, verified Instagram account messaging her to get more appointments and even congratulating her on her business. After this session, and he tried to have other sessions with her, but she just has not responded, I believe. But yeah, that is the recent story that has come out about Deshaun Watson. And Sports Illustrated published that article.
So she says she's not pressing any charges.
No, she's not filing any lawsuits. She
Not
just
even
wanted
a civil suit.
she
So
just wanted
to say something.
she just wanted to hear her voice heard, yes, and stand up. She felt the need to say something because Deshaun Watson is denying it.
Yeah, and that's more damning evidence, I think, than any of the 21 cases that are being filed by Busby, because that's something where you could crazy, but you could say that's one guy getting all of these women in line to try and take Deshaun Watson down. Now, this girl going to Sports Illustrated has no reason to try and ruin Deshaun Watson's career.
This man
So
is sick.
if you thought that was the case, I think that's pretty hard to imagine now. And I think with 22 now cases of this, of women coming forward, it's beyond any chance that this is all nothing. Like, there is at least some, even if some of it has been stretched, there is at least some truth to these stories. And if there is, then it leads to a bunch of different questions. And I think one of them is, how have the Houston Texans allowed this to go on as an organization? And, obviously they've played a hand in covering it up, I would have to imagine, over the past few years with Deshaun Watson as their quarterback. And then Deshaun Watson, I mean, where do you go from here?
That's an easy answer. They covered it up because they think business first.
Yeah, 100%.
And Deshaun Watson makes them a whole buttload of money.
And it's disgusting for the Texans. And
that too.
Something that should not be forgotten about in this process.
Now they don't care because he's still technically a part of the team, but he wants to go. So now they're just like, all right, well, we're not going to protect him any longer. He's extremely horny, and he's undesirably really, really weird. And when we was talking about it last week, we were like, we're going to wait and see because we don't know if it's true or not. But that right there, it just kind of makes
it makes it sound like it's true.
Yeah,
it sounds like it's true. It sounds like I think him sending those messages on Instagram from his verified account, it's now kind of been verified that he didn't indeed send those messages. I think it seems like, yes, it does seem like this is true. And I think talking about this situation on this podcast is very unique because nobody in the sports media is covering this. First Take is not talking about this. Undisputed, all these major sports networks are afraid to talk about this. And the worst thing about it is that while they fail to still talk about this, they still mention Deshaun Watson and possible trade packages for teams that need a QB when
they're completely ignoring this.
No team is going to trade for Deshaun Watson with this going on. That's absolutely insane for any team to trade for Deshaun Watson.
I have seen some of them talk about it, but when they do, they have to really tiptoe around it because of the legal implications of, like, technically none of this is proven yet. But I think that when you look at this situation, none of these cases are being brought criminal because I don't think, based on what I've heard and what I know of the laws, I don't think there's enough to charge him for any crimes. But the fact that they're going civil with it, it doesn't have to be beyond a reasonable doubt that he did any of this. So it's a whole different way of looking at the situation. And I think that he did do the things that he's being accused of doing, even if it can't be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think that these civil suits will bring that stuff to light. And even if it's not all 100% true, there's at least something to these rumors.
But even when they tiptoe around it, though, usually it's not even in, like, trying to talk about it. It's like they're talking about one topic, like QBs, and they're like, oh, yeah, maybe Deshaun Watson, but, we know what's going on with him.
Yeah, they deflected.
Yeah, then they just keep going. Some people have said that they have not been talking about it because they're, like, a liberal media company.
Word.
And a lot of SJW is social justice warriors. And basically it's hard to talk about it because you can't upset your fan base because social justice warriors, they say to believe all women, but at the same time, while this story is going on, because Deshaun Watson is a black man, people think that he is being framed. So that kind of plays into the narrative as well.
Wait. They say to believe all women?
Yes.
When women have come out and been caught lying too?
Yes. I mean, that's just the far left, though. I'm just giving you a perspective from the far left and kind of how they indict people like
That's
that.
Interesting.
Because, yes, it has happened in the past, but for the most part, people do come out with that narrative. But what I think is that, I mean, there are 21 lawsuits against Watson right now. And you mentioned about how there's not enough evidence to charge Watson. And this backs up that point. Rusty Hardin, Deshaun Watson's lawyer, was quoted by saying this. He's talking about Tony Busby in terms of not providing evidence to Houston's police department. These are quotes.
Okay.
His latest excuse for failing to go to law enforcement is also his lamest. Anyone who has dealt with HPD, Houston Police Department, as I have for many years, would know that Mr. Busby's suggestion that the department would overlook legitimate complaints based upon a family connection of one of its officers is ludicrous. It is also insulting to the dedicating professionals at HPD and to common sense. Mr. Busby's claimed fear of HPD's partiality is inconsistent with his prior praise for the department's response to the burglary of his home during his recent mayoral campaign. So to me, I think this is like a bunch of lip service. It's just PR. I think he's just saying that.
Well, because Tony Busby came out and said he's not going to provide information to the Houston Police Department. He's going to take, if he does take it legal, he's going to take it through other means.
Yeah, and I think he's just saying this because he believes that he's basically, Rusty Hardin, Deshaun Watson's lawyer, is basically trying to say that, oh, that's some BS that you're not providing police evidence because that's such a shame to the hard and dedicated police officers who work every day. For you to think that they have no bias is ridiculous. That's what he's basically saying, which we all know is kind of like lip service and BS. Like everybody has bias, you know. And then, okay, also quoted with saying this, I would respectfully suggest that Mr. Busby's failure to go to law enforcement does not result from some baseless fear that the Houston Police Department will not fairly investigate. Instead, it is from the knowledge that his parade of anonymous allegations could not survive the rigorous inquiry of trained investigators or the need to attest the truth of the allegations under oath. For our part, we will continue to learn about the cases in any way that we can. We in Deshaun will always remain available to any law enforcement or regulatory agency who desires our cooperation. Apparently, Mr. Busby is unwilling to do the same. So, Mr. Tony Busby has yet to offer up any evidence, which makes some people believe that means Deshaun Watson is innocent. I do agree with your point, though. I don't think there might be enough to charge Deshaun Watson. But the question is not whether he was charged or not. The question is whether he did it or not. Because we know...
It's morally disgusting.
Yes, because we know a lot of years back, Big Ben did some things that were very disgusting. And yeah, he didn't get charged, but doesn't take away from what he did.
Still look at him differently. And I think that's what's going to be the community is going to look at Deshaun Watson in a different light. And I think, like, let me, like, with it, say, for example, these are correct. Like, these are 100% true. How does he go about his business? Like, how does he continue to play for the Texans?
Who's going to want to have him as the face of their franchise?
Exactly.
I'm going to be honest.
I think Houston still
in
might.
the NFL, I don't think anybody cares. We've seen...
It's a sad but good point.
But who's going to trade for him now?
Any team that has the assets. I'm going to be honest. I think in the NFL, a league that has shown to suspend players for little time when assaulting women, like Tyreek Hill did, you know,
good point.
They don't really care about that. They care about their bottom line. The team cares about their bottom line. And the truth is that Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and he makes the team have a better bottom line. So because of that, the NFL is not going to care much. But like you mentioned, yeah, it is disgusting that Deshaun Watson, if he did do this, I mean, it's pretty insane.
No,
that
it's pretty nasty.
He's just targeting massage therapists and going to their
He's just walking
service.
in there and just getting real freaky, and they don't like it. It's kind of weird. This was 2 years ago, right? That they said
a year ago.
And the reason it's a problem is because even if he whether he does understand it or doesn't understand it, he has a certain power being who he is, because anybody who is a massage therapist is going to accept that offer from Deshaun Watson and do whatever to make him happy because what he could bring to them. Like he can bring in so much more clientele and so many more famous athletes. If you know, that's the thought process. If I do a good job, think about everything else that can come with it. So he has that power over these massage therapists, which makes it so disgusting.
It kind of reminds, you know what? Never mind.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, he does have that power over them, and for the most part, they are powerless in those situations.
In a sense, yeah.
Even when they try to use their voice like this woman did and make her story public, there are still a lot of deniers of it. And that's why a lot of women are fearful of speaking up about these things because there is gonna be a lot of pushback. In recent years, women have been getting the benefit of the doubt more times than often, but it's still not to the point where they are believed to the point that they should be believed. You know, because everything so far that we've read, it tells me that Deshaun Watson, you know, I'm leaning towards maybe it might have happened, you know. But obviously we don't really know, but this is damning evidence. In 21 lawsuits and this woman, Mary, coming out to Sports Illustrated, it seems kind of crazy. At the end of the day, I think that Deshaun Watson might just settle and he might pay an amount. But in terms of getting like actual time, I don't think he will.
I don't think his reputation is never
if he does like indeed is guilty.
Yeah.
That's just, you know, saying.
Which to me at this point, I feel like it's beyond him being completely free of guilt at this point. Like I gave him the benefit of the doubt at the start, but with all these cases piling up, and then on top of that, what was like the smoking gun for me was the Sports Illustrated piece, because you know for a fact that piece is not getting through Sports Illustrated without being picked apart by a fine-tooth comb, because that's stuff that could end careers. Like SI would not let that run if that was not a true,
him,
fully confirmed story. So even if not everything that has been brought to light is true, I think there is enough truth to it that it's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think anybody should have Deshaun Watson in trade talks or trade packages anymore.
Sorry. Hot chocolate was cold.
Well, it has been sitting there for a while.
I forgot. Oh, my God.
But that's Deshaun Watson's case, and now we're going to talk about actual football. We just wanted to give you guys an update on Deshaun Watson's legal battles. But the Minnesota Vikings,
kaboom!
Last year, they went 7-9, but they have made a ton of moves in free agency. They added Patrick Peterson, who's still a solid corner in the league, in my opinion. They added Xavier Woods, who's a young safety who can fill in the void that Anthony Harris left. Mackenzie Alexander, they re-signed him back to fill up that slot position. And they also signed Dalvin Tomlinson, and they also got Stephen Weatherly, all in this free agency period. So, in your opinion, can the Vikings not only make the playoffs, but can they win the NFC North, and that would mean dethroning the Green Bay Packers?
You know, it's really hard. You know, the NFC is such a stacked conference. You know, you got a lot of teams that can, at least 9-10 teams that can definitely make a push for a playoff spot. I think with this Minnesota Vikings team, they have everything you can ask for. You know, elite receivers. They have safeties. They have corners, young corners that can make some moves. They have linebackers. They have a good defensive line. That offensive line needs work, but they have a good quarterback that's good enough to get them to the playoffs. They have a good coach. They have to just make it work. And I think dethroning the Packers is going to take a really, really, really big time year from Kirk Cousins, because that Packers team is still got some fight left in them. They still have Aaron Rodgers. I think Justin Jefferson's going to have a big year. You know, year 2, Adam Thielen, he's still got a lot left in the tank. Dalvin Cook is still there. I think he's going to produce. I think just this year really revolves around them young corners, you know, making that year 2 jump. Kirk Cousins, he has to play at a great level. And I think if that happens, you know, we're saying dethrone Green Bay. You know, Chicago's still going to be around. I'm not saying they're going to win, but that's still a tough game to go into Chicago and then play Chicago. That defense is still there. So you got teams from the NFC West. You got teams like it's just hard to say if they can make the playoffs. I think they have the pieces to make the playoffs. I think they have everything in play for them. It really is going to come down to Kirk Cousins, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think the good thing for them is when you look at their division, I think the Lions are going to have a down year just because I think they're devoid of talent for the most part. I think the Bears are going to have a down year with Andy Dalton at quarterback. Like, I don't see them being very successful this upcoming year. So I think the division's going to come down to them and the Packers. The problem is I think the Packers are still going to be the Packers. The one question mark you have is there is that little cloud looming above the Aaron Rodgers situation. It seems like it's been resolved, but who knows? You know, that's something that, you know, it could go into the season. We saw how the Russell Wilson situation progressed this offseason from it was just Russell Wilson commenting on the offensive line to he would be open to trades to the Seahawks were taking calls on him. like things can progress quickly in the NFL. So who knows how happy or unhappy Aaron Rodgers is. They also have Jordan Love waiting in the wings. And, you know, as much as you want to make Aaron Rodgers happy, you also don't want to lose out on your guy who you think is going to be your quarterback of the future by overcommitting to Aaron Rodgers. So it's a tough, delicate situation in that quarterback room in Green Bay. So who knows? Maybe that has an impact. But I think the Vikings have a solid chance to make the playoffs. They bring back Danielle Hunter. They added Dalvin Tomlinson to that defensive line. I think that defense is going to be solid, which was a liability for them last year. And the offense. I mean, I think Kirk Cousins at his best can be a borderline top 10 quarterback. If you can get that out of him with Justin Jefferson, with Adam Thielen, with Dalvin Cook, I think they could be in good shape in the playoff race. The problem is the NFC is strong. You look around the league, the NFC West, I think, has 4 teams that can all be playoff contenders. The NFC South has the Bucks and the Saints, depending on, you know, how their quarterback situation looks. So, and then the NFC East has, I think, a couple of teams that'll, depending on some question marks, be in the playoff contention. So it's going to be a really tough race for those bottom 2 or 3 playoff spots in the NFC. But I think the Vikings will be positioned right there at the end of the season to, if not win the division, at least be battling for a wild card spot.
And, you know, we still have to see if Jordan Love is good. Maybe he sucks. We don't even know. But the Minnesota Vikings will make the playoffs next year. Not only will they make the playoffs, they are going to win the NFC North. They are going to win the division. I have no doubt about that. Last year, they had the 11th ranked offense in the league and the 29th ranked defense in the league in terms of points allowed per game. Their secondary was horrible. They had no pass rush, and everybody was hurt. Danielle Hunter was out. Michael Pierce was out. Anthony Barr only played 4 games. And Mike Hughes, who you could have argued that what should have been their best corner last year, didn't play either. So the Vikings had injuries all over. I mentioned their offseason moves earlier, but Danielle Hunter is back. Pierce is back. All these guys are going to be back. Their defense now is going to be Danielle Hunter, Michael Pierce, Dalvin Tomlinson, DJ Wonnum, who's a pretty good rookie. Stephen Weatherly can be a rotational piece. Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr, Patrick Peterson, Cameron Dantzler, who really flashed last year, later in the year. Jeff Gladney did struggle throughout the entire year, but Dantzler is a solid corner. He's a starting corner right now. Mackenzie Alexander fills in that slot role. Jeff Gladney, Mike Hughes, Harrison Smith, and Xavier Woods. Mike Zimmer made it a point of emphasis to fix that defense this free agency, and I was shocked that they had this much cap space to spend, but they did. They made these moves. To me, this defense is a top 15 or top 10 defense, especially with Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer is a hell of a defensive coach. Say what you want about his clock management, about his inability to adjust during games, but as a defensive coach, he is a hell of a defensive coach. He always has one of the best units in the entire league, and I think COVID kind of affected them last year. If the Vikings would have had a full offseason last year, I think Zimmer would have developed those players nicely, those younger players, and they would have had a better defense. But he didn't get that chance, and he still got a great offense with Kirk, Thielen, Cook, Jefferson, Irv Smith Jr. They just have to fill up that offensive line. But you mentioned, look at the teams in the division. The Lions are going to suck. The Bears are not going to be good. They're going to be bad. And the Packers lost Corey Linsley. Also, they paid a running back, Aaron Jones, and we know those moves tend to backfire. Their guard spot is iffy. They have to get another tackle. David Bakhtiari got injured last year. They don't have a second receiver, and they still haven't filled that hole at inside linebacker. Their run defense is going to be really bad. And I just have a gut feeling that the Vikings are going to win the division because I think every team in the division got worse, and the Vikings got better. They finished 7-9 while having one of the worst defenses in the league, and now they're going to have one of the top defenses in the league. So I think they're going to take a 3 to 4 game jump. And since going to Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, he often gets trashed on, but he has a 103 quarterback rating and has thrown 91 touchdowns to 29 interceptions in his 2 seasons in Minnesota. And the Vikings are 4-3 against the Packers since 2017. So it's not like the Packers dominate those matchups. When the Vikings and Packers face, it often comes down to one play. Those games are very close. So because of that, I think the Vikings just have to get over the hump of beating the Packers. And I think this year they can do that, especially because I think the Packers, they're kind of in turmoil right now. We know the Bears are as well, and the Lions. So because of that, I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to win the division next year.
I could definitely see them winning the division. And, you know, the only question mark is if the Packers are the same team they were last year, can they fight for that wild card spot? I think it's going to be a really tough race, and you would have to hope that the NFC West can just, cannibalize itself and hopefully narrow itself down to one wild card team out of that group, even though I think there are 4 playoff caliber teams out west. So it'll be interesting, but I could easily see the Vikings as a playoff team, and I would not be shocked to see them win the division.
All right, so boom, I wanted to quickly get their schedule up. So here's the schedule. Obviously, they got the Bears. I'm not going to read you the divisions. Obviously, you know how that. They get this out the way. U.S. Bank Stadium. That's their home, right? Mm-hmm. This is what they got at home. Steelers, Browns, Rams, Seahawks, Cowboys. This is on the road.
So, hold on. Let's go through those games. Cowboys, they'll beat.
You think, like, just outright?
The Cowboys' defense is going to be bad next year.
Yeah, okay. Seahawks, that's a fight.
That's a toss-up.
Rams, that's a fight. Browns, the next.
I think they'll beat the Browns.
I think that's a fight. I don't know if I can't. That's like a 50-50 for me.
The reason why I think they'll beat the Browns is because I think Kevin Stefanski, offensive coordinator for the Browns, was former offensive coordinator for the Vikings. I think Mike Zimmer is going to design a pretty good game plan against him, so I think they'll be fine.
They got to play the NFC West and the AFC North.
And then Steelers.
I think they could beat the Steelers too.
I think they can beat all teams.
Yeah.
And then on the road, Bengals, Ravens, Niners, Cardinals, Panthers, Chargers. That's the Chargers is the game that just got added.
So Panthers and
that's a pretty.
Panthers in the first. So okay, so let's go through the division first. I think they'll beat the Lions twice.
I think they'll split with the Bears and the Packers.
Okay, so they'll split with that's 4 wins right there. So Cowboys, I think that's 5. So go through the other games.
You want me to go back to home?
Anyone, just name the games.
I'm at home. Steelers.
I'll give it to the Steelers.
Browns.
I'll give that to the Vikings. That's 6.
I would flip that.
I would also flip that.
I would give it to the Browns and say they beat the Steelers, honestly.
The Browns
either way, same difference.
Yeah. The Browns made the playoffs last year, but they got outscored too. Them kind of having that record was kind of like
the defense is good though. Rams with Matthew Stafford now.
Rams will win out. I give them
Seahawks.
That's a toss up.
Yeah, that is a toss up. I think the Rams game is a toss up too.
I think Seahawks. I think they might edge.
And then Cowboys. You said
yes. That's 7 right there.
And now we're going on the road. Bengals.
That's 8.
Okay, yeah. Ravens. That's a toss up.
I think that's a toss up too.
Niners. I think the Niners take that one. I'm not gonna lie. I have the Niners winning that game.
That's possible. Yeah.
Cardinals.
That's tough.
Toss up.
Oh my god.
I think because of the Cardinals' offensive line, it might hurt them. Patrick Peterson revenge game. I don't know.
They just got J.J. Watt.
Their secondary's not good.
That's true.
So I'll give it to the Vikings.
Their D-line has to put in real work that day.
Yeah, I'll give it to the Vikings. That's 9.
And then Carolina.
That's 10.
Chargers.
That's a toss.
That's the Week 17 game.
Yeah, so realistically, I could see the Vikings winning 10 to 12 games.
Yeah, that's why I said why I feel like the conference is so tough. I can see the Vikings making the playoffs, but I also see things happening and them missing it. Like we said, they were 7-9 last year, and they had a lot of injuries, so that can play a part this year. I think a lot of guys that were injured have been injured before, but this team is definitely well equipped to make a run and definitely put some noise in the NFC and get back on track. You really think they're gonna win the division?
I think so. I'm not sold on Green Bay this year.
I feel like you say that every year.
I'm not. I'm just never sold on Green Bay. I know they have Rodgers, but for me, I don't know. It's something about Green Bay that I'm just not sold on them.
He's always going to keep them in the hunt. Always.
So recent news, of course, came out that the 49ers have traded up to the 3rd spot. And it seems like to this point, Mac Jones is the favorite to get drafted by the San Francisco 49ers at that 3rd overall spot. So would it be a mistake for the 49ers to draft Mac Jones?
I don't think so. I think the Niners are like one of the few spots where they can get any of those quarterbacks and he'll thrive there. I think like that spot, like Kyle Shanahan, George Kittle, those young receivers, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. I think those guys are kind of like a great spot, a good offensive line. I think that spot, and of course Raheem Mostert, he's good. I think that like that spot is perfectly fit for any QB, whether they get Mac Jones, Fields. I think any of them can thrive there. I just think with this pick, they have to really determine who's going to have the biggest potential. And I think, like, who's going to be our franchise QB at this point? Some people believe it's going to be Fields. Some people think it's going to be Mac Jones. I think that's going to come down to them. But I think any QB at this point can go in there and dominate and be a great QB in the Niners because they're that great and Kyle Shanahan's that good.
I love Mac Jones.
We know you do.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really good. In terms of pocket presence, I think he has the best pocket presence in this draft class, and he throws rifles. I mean, he's super accurate. He set the college football record with the highest completion percentage in college football history. He had the highest quarterback rating in history. People don't like Mac Jones because he's not athletic, and also because he played for Alabama. But I think his feel for the pocket is great, and that's why I don't think his athleticism is going to hold him back in the NFL. We know that Shanahan likes those type of QBs, Matt Schaub, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins. He favors those guys. And to me, I just think Mac Jones fits that mold. Justin Fields, he has potential. Trey Lance, they have potential. I'm not saying they're not going to be good because they have potential. But I just think as a guy who's ready day one.
Who has more potential, Mac Jones or Fields?
I think Fields does. If you're
Mac
talking
Jones
about,
or Trey Lance?
I think Trey Lance.
Like in terms of real quick, in terms of potential, give me your 5.
If we're
order.
So
just potential.
This is my list.
In the right spot.
This is my list in terms of if we're talking about these quarterbacks hit their ceiling and their mechanics are fixed.
Yes,
and
like hit their peak.
The impossible of the impossible happens. Then first is Lawrence.
Okay.
Second is Fields.
Okay.
Third.
Who's third?
Who's
third?
It's gonna sound crazy.
You're gonna say Lance, aren't you?
No.
Kellen Mond.
It's gonna be Jamie Newman or Kellen Mond.
Okay.
If they hit their absolute ceiling, because Jamie Newman has some real accuracy problems, but
he's an underrated guy.
Yeah, like he's 6'4", he's strong as hell. Like if he hits his absolute ceiling,
okay.
Then I think Trey Lance and Zach Wilson are there. Like I think Zach Wilson's like in that 4 or 5 range, and then Mac Jones is last.
But you're saying like most ready for the NFL right now.
Yeah, but even potential is tricky. I think that Mac Jones he just has that it factor. He just has that competitive drive to him. He was on the scout team at Alabama, and he would throw touchdowns on the starting defense. And Nick Saban would tell him to cut it out, and Mac Jones would tell your defense to stop it. I mean, this is a guy who came from nothing on the scout team, worked his way up to be the starting quarterback and set records his senior year. I think something has to be said for that. A lot of young players would have transferred if they hadn't got the chance to play.
Facts.
They would have not stuck with the process or the grind. Mac Jones stuck with it. He stuck with the process, and Steve Sarkisian was Matt Ryan's coach. And Mac Jones mastered the offense so well that he taught it to Bill O'Brien when he got to Alabama. A college player teaching an NFL former head coach the offense, I think that's pretty remarkable. You know, I think 49ers are a great spot for him.
I mean, listen,
I don't think it'd be the wrong pick, but I know, Jack, you're not high on Jack.
Let me talk.
Yeah,
let me
go ahead.
talk.
Talk
let
your
me
thing,
talk.
Jack.
You know I haven't been high on Mac Jones, but
Let's hold up. You said that at first you said he was a first round bust, but then you also said that for the value he won't pan out.
I think value wise,
You don't think he's a first rounder?
My big problem with Mac Jones, I don't see him becoming a star quarterback.
Okay.
But with that being said, going in line with what you were just saying, like if you're talking potential versus a guy who can come in and play from day one, like I don't think that Mac Jones is a bad option because he's such a high IQ guy. He has I don't want to say the it factor like you were saying, but he does have that high football IQ. And on top of that, the system that he would be going to in San Francisco, we just saw Jimmy Garoppolo run that system really well and helped lead the 49ers to the Super Bowl. The quarterback in San Francisco doesn't have to do that much. So you don't have to have Mac Jones come in and be a star.
Yep.
Like, I could see him being a better Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe a slightly better Jimmy Garoppolo, And if that's what they're getting, like, he can run that offense, and I think it would be a great landing spot for him because they have a really nice offensive line. They have some great offensive weapons. I like their scheme. Their defense, when they're healthy, is really good. So he would be stepping in from day one to a great situation. We talked about it before in our group chat. I think situation is a huge thing for rookie quarterbacks, and you can see it over the past couple of years. The quarterbacks that have panned out the best, whether it's because of them or because of the franchise, they've been on the best teams.
I just find it funny that a month ago we were talking about this. We talked about Mac Jones, and at that time Mac Jones was not hyped up, and I told Jack don't sleep on Mac Jones. And then a month later he's getting projected to be at 3.
You didn't change.
We thought he might have been an end of the first round quarterback. That's what the narrative. But as people kept watching it, they're like, "Oh, no, this guy is."
But you changed your top 5 list about 5-6 times in the past 2 months.
Yes, because I started to watch more.
I still don't think he's going to be a star quarterback. But I mean, I'll say this: I don't think the mistake for the 49ers would be drafting Mac Jones at 3. If you wanted to criticize them for something, I would say trading up all they traded up to get to 3 would be the mistake. Not because now they're in the position. It's done. They traded their 3 first-round picks to get up here. Now you got to take the quarterback you think will fit in your system, and I personally think Mac Jones can fit in.
I don't think Mac Jones would have been there at 12.
I have a question.
I agree because his stock has skyrocketed.
You said you talked about how trading up to get number 3. You think Mac Jones is ready? He's ready right now. They pick Mac Jones. Would it be a mistake to get a guy who's ready, but like Jack said, he doesn't believe can be a star, trading up that much to get a guy like that?
Well, yes, if you don't believe he can be a star, yes, of course. It's bad to trade that much up to get a quarterback that won't be a star. But also, if he does become one, then, it's a totally different conversation.
So I guess
Ian Rapaport said that if you would have asked him...
You said Michael Rapaport?
Ian Rapaport.
Oh.
After his pro day, I believe, he said that when the process first started about a month ago, if you would have asked me if Mac Jones is first rounder, I would have said yes. A week ago, if you asked me if Mac Jones is going to be a top 15 pick, I would have probably said yes. Right now, if you asked me if Mac Jones is going to go in the top 10, I would be surprised if he wasn't. And if you asked me, and if you told me that he was going to be a top 5 pick, if you told me he wasn't a top 5 pick, I would be surprised as well. So Ian Rapaport believes he's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft.
I also think that it's helped this year that there are so many teams looking for a quarterback. Like I think and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's just revisionist history, but I think this year there is an abnormal amount of teams that are looking for a quarterback.
You know what's the thing though? Like, I don't think the mistake is taking Fields, Lance, or Jones. I don't think any of them would be mistakes. This is just a hot take. I don't think it would be a mistake taking Mond at 3 if they really love Mond. Ooh. I know that move would get very criticized.
Oh, my God. They would get
killed. But I think they're going to get killed if they take Mac Jones.
They will.
They're going to get killed if they take Mac Jones. But
people keep thinking they're going to take Fields.
Yes, because people already have this hype over Fields and stuff. I tweeted this. If the Jets throw a curveball and draft Mac Jones, I wouldn't hate it.
I would.
You are ridiculous.
He would not
I
be
wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
So you wait. Hold on, Jack. This guy is crazy.
Because I like Mac Jones. I wouldn't hate it.
So you're saying you would be okay. This is you. After you told us, I think a week or 2 ago, if they don't pick Zach at 2, you're done with them. So you're telling me right now, if you guys pick Mac Jones, you're fine with it. That's it. You're changing. This is the thing.
Jets fans are gonna panic. Jets fans are gonna say, "Oh, this guy, this, that, Alabama athleticism." Me, I'm gonna be like, he could play. I'll be like, okay, he could play.
It's not even that for me. It's just like the reason I would be okay with the Niners taking him at 3, like I wouldn't kill them for it, is because I think they have a situation that would cater to Mac Jones. I don't think the Jets have that yet.
This is the thing for me. I would just say, okay, Mac Jones with the Jets, I'll give him a chance. I'm not going to just disown the Jets because I like Mac Jones.
That's the same you said with Darnold.
I love Zach Wilson, though. But I'll say Mac Jones, Sam Darnold, not the same.
No, I'm saying you gave Darnold a chance, though. I'll give
Darnold a chance. But I honestly think Mac Jones coming into the draft right now is more ready than Sam Darnold was. Sam Darnold was a turnover machine. Mac Jones is not that. So, I think their mistake is trading up. Not to pick a QB at the Valley, whatever. I just think they panicked. I think they saw all these QBs, and they panic to try to make a move because I've been vocal about this. I love Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's a damn good quarterback. I think the only thing wrong with him is that he's injured all the time. But in terms of moving on from him, when the locker room is already, that's their guy. George Kittle says, yo, Jimmy G is my quarterback. Threatening to split up that locker room by bringing in a rookie quarterback, putting him in an awkward situation. Yeah. I just think it was a panic move, but I want to read you off this list. Since 2014, 19 quarterbacks have been taken in the first round. Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel, Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Paxton Lynch, Mitchell Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, and Dwayne Haskins.
The only 2 Super Bowl winners, Wentz and Mahomes. 8
have panned out. Of those 19 that have been drafted in the first round, the ones that I think have panned out are Jared Goff. I know he's not an elite quarterback, but he panned out. I would be, of course you want to be a superstar, but he's a starting quarterback.
He's been to the Super Bowl.
Carson Wentz, almost MVP. Mahomes, Watson, Mayfield, Allen, Lamar, Kyler. And if you want to say Teddy Bridgewater panned out, that could be another guy.
Injuries has messed him up.
So
I think that Mac Jones could definitely become Jared Goff. So if you would be okay with that one, I would have no problem taking him at 3.
But not even talking about Mac Jones. I want to talk about this is that there's a 42% chance that a QB will be good or not. If you talk about from 2014 to now. But I think the hit rate on quarterbacks is much higher now. If we look at the last 3 years, Trubisky, Mahomes, Watson, Mayfield, Sam, Allen, Rosen, Kyler, Jones, and Haskins. That's 10 quarterbacks.
Rosen and Trubisky are the misses.
Mahomes, Watson, Mayfield, Allen, Lamar, Kyler. 6 out of those 10 quarterbacks have succeeded. So that's a 60% chance these quarterbacks succeeded. The reason why I think people are low on Mac Jones is because, yes, since the last 6 years, a non-athletic quarterback has not succeeded. But I'd argue that's because these quarterbacks that are not athletic have sucked. Like Dwayne Haskins, I don't think he's bad, but just his character has not allowed him to be a good quarterback. You look at Josh Rosen, I think he was put in the most terrible situation and has not been given a second opportunity yet to really do something, even though you could classify him as a bust. Sam Darnold, he is athletic, so he's not like a slowpoke. But Paxton Lynch, I just think people were sold on his height. But you look at these guys, for every single athletic quarterback, they failed. You look at Bortles, he failed. You look at Manziel, he failed. You look at Mariota, he failed. You look at Trubisky, he failed. Daniel Jones, the jury's still out on him, but for the most part, athletic quarterbacks have failed too. So I don't think it's just an athletic versus non-athletic thing. I think there just hasn't been a quarterback that has come into the league, into the draft yet, that has not been athletic, but that has also that's been very good as well. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm still not incredibly high on Mac Jones, but if there was ever a situation for him to work out, and I think this is the best thing that ever could have happened for him, is the 49ers trading up to 3, because this is by far a better situation than anything else he would have been put in.
I mean, for one, I think that the success rate on quarterbacks has been much better as of recently. And you can say that the quarterbacks that haven't been successful, it's because of situation. People love to rag on Mitchell Trubisky, but Mitchell Trubisky was not put in the best situation.
He made a Pro Bowl, too.
In terms of offense, he was not put in the best situation with Matt Nagy calling plays, a pretty bad offensive line, and only one real weapon. Sam Darnold was not put in a position to succeed. Josh Rosen was not either. Haskins, iffy. Daniel Jones, now he has one. But Mahomes, Watson, Mayfield, Allen, Lamar, Kyler, Goff, Wentz, they've all been put in great positions. Jared Goff, second year, it was a great position. And after his first year, people were calling him a bust.
Same with Wentz.
Yeah, so they've been in great positions. I think at 1, Jacksonville looks to be a good place for Lawrence. So I think that's a good position, especially what they did in free agency. The Jets, I think they're becoming a better position for young quarterbacks. You look at San Fran, that's the best position for any quarterback. You look at Carolina,
Atlanta,
I think
too.
Yeah, I think Atlanta's a good situation. You look at Carolina, I think Carolina's a good situation too.
Great situation.
So I think obviously people are going to say that most of these quarterbacks are not going to pan out. But I don't know, man. I think that this year more than others, it feels like a lot more of these guys are gonna pan out.
I think like when we talk about like the first 10, 15 picks, you know, like the teams we just said, Carolina, Atlanta, San Fran, they have situations where there should be no reason why your QB should fail with the weapons they have. You know, Carolina having DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey, Atlanta having Ridley, Julio Jones. They don't have a real running back, but those two guys, you can't really get any better than that. And then San Fran, like we said, with their weapons, it's really hard to assess. Like it's going to be hard for these guys to fail if they're that talented with these three situations being damn near perfect. Because a lot of guys, like he said, didn't get the situations to really show their ability. These guys are going to, like, essentially are going to be put in positions where if they don't succeed, it's going to really be all on them.
And even this last draft, you look at Tua, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. Burrow and Herbert, to me, look like locks to be successful, in my opinion. They look like locks. Tua is getting a great situation now. Then you look at the other guy, Jordan Love. We don't know yet, but
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts in the second round. But in the first round, it seems like from this past year's draft, 4 of them might hit. Like Tua might not be superstar, but he might be Jimmy Garoppolo, which I think is a pretty.
Even the Josh Allen draft, 3 of them hit.
Yeah, 3 of them hit, and Sam Darnold could have hit if he wasn't he didn't get put into the worst situation in the league.
And people weren't.
And Josh Rosen too.
People weren't high on Josh Allen after his first year. They were ready to give it up.
I think people have to understand that it's mostly about situations. That's why I'm not hypercritical on these young players because, for one, like, what do I look like being 21 years old, being hypercritical of another 21-year-old, you know, that's trying to live out their dream. I'm not gonna go and shit on them. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, honestly. Like, I'll wait until they suck in the league for me to say that. But I'm not gonna just say, oh yeah, these guys are gonna suck. Like, who am I to know that? I don't know that. I'm just guessing. But obviously, one of the guys we mentioned was Sam Darnold, right? And Jack and I, we're Jets fans. And Sam Darnold, between the Jets fan base, there's an argument to keep him and trade back, draft a Kyle Pitts, or just take Wilson at 2. And, I mean, this question is, will Sam Darnold revive his career? Right now, he's known as a bust and drafted a 3rd overall pick, hasn't panned out. So is he going to eventually pan out and be a good NFL quarterback?
Well, the good thing about Darnold is he's still really young. You know, he's still about 21, 22 years old. He's probably the same age
as
the
youngest starting quarterback in the league.
Was he 19?
No, I think
I'm saying when he came in, wasn't he like 19? I think he's the same age as Mac Jones right now.
Yeah.
So, that's the beauty of it. He's still extremely young. You know, and a lot of the Jets things was 50-50. You know, situation wasn't good. He wasn't good. You know, he didn't show much, but the situation wasn't the best for him. I can't fully say if he'll revive his career, and I don't think you guys should trade back. I think you should lock in on Zach Wilson, get your guy. Even if you want to lock in on Mac Jones, just don't trade back. Sam Darnold is done in New York. I don't think he should suit up and throw another football for you guys. Doing that would just be kind of doing what you've been doing in the past and making mistakes. I don't think that should happen. But I think he can revive his career in a damn near perfect situation if he still has the intangibles and the tools to do that. You know, he's still young. He does show flashes on rare occasions. So I think in a better situation, you know, he can definitely do good things. It just depends on him.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he should be with the Jets next year, if for no other reason than the fact that his contract is going to be expiring soon. They would have to figure out paying him, and it just makes no sense when you can bring in a rookie that could potentially be better than him from day one and reset that contract clock. It just makes so much more sense with a new regime that has no ties to Sam Darnold to just reset your quarterback clock. Start clean, especially because the worst thing that could happen to the Jets is you stick with Sam Darnold this year. You say, let's give him another shot, and you're okay. You win 4 or 5 games maybe. You put yourself in the 15th pick or so next season, and Sam Darnold wasn't good again. You don't want to commit to paying him, and you're looking at a quarterback class that, as of now, it can change, but as of now, can't even shine the shoes of this quarterback class. And then you put yourself in an impossible situation. You need to either find a quarterback through a trade or free agency because there's not going to be options in the draft next year. So take the quarterback while they're available. You couldn't be put in a better situation. you could pick between some of the better quarterback prospects that we've seen in a while. At number 2, you have a guy in Zach Wilson who you seem to be pretty high on. It's a no-brainer for the
or
Jets.
Mac Jones.
Even if they go Mac Jones, at least reset the quarterback clock. Get a guy that you believe in, because, again, this regime has no ties to Sam Darnold. But for him, again, Riv said it, he's young. I think he's shown some flashes of potential here and
On
there.
rare occasions.
I think it's worth a team taking a flyer on him. If they're I think for the Steelers, it would be something that would make sense because
With Dwayne Haskins there?
He's better than Dwayne Haskins.
That's
I
the
don't
question.
know, though. I really don't know.
I would rather take a flyer on a guy like Sam Darnold than Dwayne Haskins, personally.
He's better than Dwayne
Because of
Haskins.
character, I would agree.
Yeah, the character is one thing.
To this point.
And that's to me what would put Sam Darnold ahead of Dwayne Haskins, no question for me. Like, I would rather take a flyer on Darnold than Haskins. It's just they got Haskins for essentially free.
Sam Richard Donald is my age.
I'm going to be honest.
That's crazy.
Sam Darnold will not pan out in the NFL.
Oh, my God.
And it hurts me to say that because I thought he was the Jets' future franchise quarterback. I can't lie. When he did get drafted, I sold myself on the pick. I didn't like the pick at first. I was leaning more towards Josh Allen. Like I knew Josh Allen had
I remember.
Josh Allen had the ceiling. He had the ceiling, but he just was really flawed coming out of college. But I remember watching Josh Allen and said, this guy has a high ceiling in the draft. It's just about what he could do.
You hear this guy?
But
it's ridiculous.
I had to sell myself on Sam Darnold. And, of course, because there's the AFC East rivalry, I praised Darnold undeservingly, and I trashed Josh Allen because of his completion percentage. But I will be honest, though. I just don't see him panning out in the NFL. People can mention the offensive line, the receivers, but a lot of his bad plays are not on the offensive line of the receivers. It's just him making bad decisions. And then the other argument is that, okay, he had Adam Gase as a head coach, and Adam Gase is a bad head coach. That's true. Adam Gase is a bad head coach, no doubt about it. But they often compare Darnold to Tannehill and say, look, Darnold can, revive his career because Tannehill did it after he left Gase. For one, Ryan Tannehill, when he had Adam Gase as coach in Miami, had his 2 highest passer ratings of his career to that point at 90+ each season when he was there, and led the Dolphins to the playoffs. They didn't play in the playoff game because he was hurt, but he was really good with Adam Gase. Sam Darnold has not shown to be good with Adam Gase. He has not shown to be even a mid-level quarterback. He's been the worst starting quarterback the last 3 years, worse than guys like Mitchell Trubisky. I think once you get into that territory, it's a red flag right there. Mitchell Trubisky, people are done with him, and Darnold was just drafted 1 draft class ahead of him. It's not like there's a marginal gap between that, and Trubisky made a Pro Bowl. So for me, I think this notion that Sam Darnold, we have to give him a chance, and he has to revive it, he's going to revive his career, is pretty silly to me, because Daniel Jones, it seems like everybody's out on Daniel Jones after a year where his rookie year where he almost set the rookie touchdown passing record, and his second year where he wasn't so good, but people are out on Daniel Jones, but they still think Darnold has this massive potential because he was the youngest quarterback that started, ever when he was with the Jets. But I just don't see Darnold becoming a great quarterback. I don't see the arm strength. I don't see the ball placement. I mean, Robbie Anderson would have been a 1K receiver with Darnold if he didn't underthrow him a lot of times. So I just don't see with Darnold. I hope I'm wrong because I would love for him to be successful. But I think the Colts trading for an expensive Wentz after a really horrible season, the 49ers trading up to 3 instead of trading for Darnold, the Steelers getting Haskins instead of trading for Darnold, kind of shows you where teams are with Sam Darnold. Yeah. Nobody wants to have him. So for me, I think the Jets' best option going forward, keep Sam Darnold on the team, but draft Zach Wilson. And if Zach Wilson beats him out, then Darnold's going to be a really good backup. If Zach Wilson doesn't beat him out, then we know we have a bust in Zach Wilson too.
I knew that. Yeah.
I hope he succeeds. He seems like a really good dude.
I ain't trying.
And I still see.
I'm sick of that.
No. But
I
but
get
seriously, I hope he does get another chance to succeed somewhere else. I've seen the flashes of potential, But at this point in his career, like you said, with teams showing through their actions, I just don't know if he will get that good shot somewhere else.
So you mean to tell me Dwayne Haskins can get a second chance, but Darnold can't find?
Which is crazy.
Yeah, Darnold
That's
can't
crazy.
find another second chance.
I mean, the Steelers prefer to get Haskins over Darnold and give
That's
him a
crazy.
second chance. You know, what's the other team that's in the quarterback market? Carolina?
Washington?
Washington could be
Washington, but for me, like, I just don't think Washington's gonna do that. Like, I think they
It'll
got
probably be-
Fitzpatrick, and I think they're personally higher on Heineke.
They did pay him, right?
It
Yeah.
would probably be Washington or Carolina at this point. Would be the two teams that you think would have a chance.
And Carolina's in a position to draft a quarterback now and get a guy with more potential.
You think they draft a
arguably.
quarterback, or they just get another guy and they just ride out with Teddy Bridgewater?
I think Teddy Bridgewater is not going to start next year, which sucks because
He's good. I like
they
him.
might put in a Lance or Fields in position to play now, and I don't know how they're going to do if that happens. But you know, for me, I don't know, man. Sam Darnold, I try to sell myself on the pick. I have a jersey lying around there somewhere from Sam Darnold. You know.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. I bought it recently because it was like on sale for like $20. But true story. The reason I did not buy a Sam Darnold jersey when he first got drafted, or even 2 years into his Jets career, was because I had a feeling this was going to happen. I wasn't totally sold. I was like, I'm not going to buy a jersey because I just don't know. So because of that, I'm going to wait it out. And, you know, I'm probably never going to buy a Darnold jersey ever again.
I'll still be
It's
rooting
sad,
for him.
true story, but, you know, sad story, but really bad position.
Yep.
Lack talent, bad coaching. That's a recipe for disaster for any quarterback. Yep. And maybe the Jets can turn it around with whoever they draft in the draft. I know people think it's going to be Zach Wilson, but we don't really know. But, you know, hopefully Mike LaFleur with Robert Saleh and all those guys, they can change around that narrative around the Jets that they're this awful situation.
Yep. I'll be rooting for Darnold wherever he lands.
I won't. Sorry.
You know, the thing is, so this whole entire day, I was actually having some fun, and I was just looking at YouTube videos, and I was looking at old scouting reports on Patrick Mahomes, and just watching film analysis videos on Mahomes.
What, they said he sucked or something?
Yeah, they were like, oh, this guy has mechanical issues. I take him in the second round. I would take him this and this.
That's crazy.
And,
that backfired.
you know, all those film analysis that talk, you know, that make videos on YouTube, like Samuel Gold, Brett Coleman, Alex Rollins, I think, the QB school. I just was going on like a marathon of looking at these guys' bad takes and quarterbacks in terms of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a crapshoot, so I'm not saying they suck at their job. I'm just saying that it's really unpredictable. So
It is.
So this guy, Samuel Gold, was like, Patrick Mahomes is like a second-round prospect. Brett Coleman said that Christian Hackenberg was going to be good. He said
Penn
that.
State?
Yeah, he said that.
him.
He said that. The Giants can't afford to pass up on Dwayne Haskins. He called Justin Herbert Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah.
Part 2. This guy Alex Rollins said that Justin Herbert is the next NFL bust. Like a bunch of crazy stuff.
It's just so impossible.
And then the QB school, you know, like, because obviously he's low on Zach Wilson. Yeah. So I just wanted to justify my opinion of this guy doesn't know fucking shit. So because of that, I looked at the past history of what he said. So last year he said that Justin Herbert wasn't going to be good either. So, you know,
In
I
hindsight,
mean, that was
crazy.
the popular opinion.
Yeah,
it was a popular
was.
opinion. So he said Herbert wasn't going to be good either. He said Tua was like next level phenomenal.
People really thought that.
So because now he's saying that Justin Fields is next level phenomenal and Zach Wilson is all red flags.
Oh man,
Maybe he's probably wrong again. So, you know, I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing, but I just wanted to go on that hiatus and that marathon of searching all this content up just to verify my opinion that people are gonna say everything about a prospect. There's gonna be varying opinions.
Yeah, you could find
from
opinions
bad to good to
on
everything.
Any prospect you could find from the highest of highs to the lowest
I
of
still
lows.
remember what you said about Josh Allen.
And the quarterback position, and the quarterback position is the toughest position to evaluate.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think to this point, Chris Sims has done the best job. So, like, Chris Sims is the guy that I really listen to and get his opinion.
This man
I'm going to be
said
honest.
he would pick David Bakari, the lineman, over Josh Allen for MVP. That's what he said.
I've seen
Yeah,
that
like
take.
this guy is crazy.
To that point, it was a good take.
No.
Yes, it was.
Now look at
Because
you.
Josh Allen, we didn't know if he was going to do good or not. But yeah, that's the thing. So like Chris Sims, the thing that people often criticize him about is that like he doesn't explain stuff. But I think with every quarterback, he explains very in depth why he has them ranked where. And even like in the 2018 draft class, he ranked it Lamar, Allen, Baker, Darnold, and Rosen. So like he nailed it. But he then later changed his rankings and put Lamar like behind Rosen. But the reason why he did that, because I saw the podcast, was that Lamar Jackson had his mom as an agent, and like there were a bunch of like, you know, he had beef with his former head coach. So those rankings weren't based on their talent. It was based on, oh, this guy has these off the field stuff, so things like that. But just talking about talent and on the field stuff, he had these guys slotted where he had them slotted. And I don't usually pay much attention to where he has them slotted. I just pay attention to what he says about them. It's not enough for me to be like, oh, he has them 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to know, okay, what does he think they do bad or good? Mm-hmm. Because when I was watching all these quarterbacks, after I would watch them, I would go back to Chris Sims' video and kind of see if my opinion aligns with his and see like, okay, like, did I see that? Did I not see that? Things like that. But yeah, it's a crapshoot and anything can happen. And that's why I don't like this hot take culture that quarterbacks are going to be bad or the next, you know, whatever they're going to be. I just think we have to let them grow. And I think especially in this society, people are way too impatient with people. You know, after Tua's rookie year, he's a bust. After Jared Goff's rookie year, he's a bust. Especially now because of social media, these opinions are accelerated. And the timetable of when you can prove yourself is shortened up so much that once you don't prove yourself in this set amount of time period, especially athletes, like in their first year, if they haven't proved themselves, they're horrible and you got to move on. I just think that notion is ridiculous. It feels like the minds of people has gotten way faster in terms of not being patient while the world is still moving at the same rate.
Yeah, it's proven. The human attention span is much shorter than it was decades ago.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like it's a proven fact. I could send you guys
right.
after,
That's just crazy.
Like the world is still moving at the same pace, but we just feel so accelerated in our thinking because we read like millions of words a day on social media that
and we could get anything at the snap of a finger.
Yeah, so for me, you know, we got to be patient with these quarterbacks. We got to be patient with these players. We got to be patient as human beings.
My favorite quarterback is Fields. So I just hope he does really great.
Why?
I hope he does well.
Oh,
He
I'm
seems
an
like a good
OSU
dude.
fan.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Well, you thought I was gonna say he's black or something?
Yes, because you did
I
say
like-
that.
I like Justin
No, I was
Fields.
playing.
He was. Did you ever watch? I think it's called QB1. It's
He's
a
in
show
it.
on Netflix. He was in it when he was in high school.
Beyond the QB1.
Spencer Rattler was in there too.
Something like that. Yeah.
Did you watch Spencer Rattler?
Yeah. And
I don't like Spencer Rattler, not going to lie.
Nah, neither do I.
I don't. I think he's
You guys
cocky
don't?
as hell.
Yeah,
Damn.
I agree.
Yeah, I know he.
I'm not gonna say.
I,
that.
I just
kinda
said I don't
like-
want to talk down on college players, but he really rubbed me the wrong way when I watched QB.
He reminds
He
me
kind
of
of like. I like him.
he reminds me of the kid from Tate Martell, who
Tate
was
Martell.
also on it. Like they both had.
How was
that-
Justin Fields on QB1?
What do you mean?
You said Justin Fields was on QB1.
Yeah.
How was he on it?
Oh. He just seems like a really good dude. Like everything that he seems to be at Ohio State, he seemed to be in the documentary. I mean, I don't know him, but he just seems like a really good dude. He seems like a good leader. And everything you hear about him, like what you saw from him in the show aligns with what you've heard about him.
What quarterbacks have been on QB1?
Jake Fromm was on it.
Yeah.
Tate Martell was on it. Spencer Rattler was on it. And then I think there was 2 other guys that didn't make it from what I seen. I could look it up, though.
Yeah, Jake Fromm just doesn't have really the talent to make it. I'm gonna be I just honestly.
He's a Buffalo, right?
I'm gonna watch it tonight. You guys watched
And some racist tweets came or messages about him came out last year too.
What's this shit called?
All right, QB1 Beyond the Lights.
That's what it's called. I'm gonna watch it tonight.
Let's see. So season 1, it was Tavon Bowers, who went to Wake Forest and then transferred to Gardner-Webb. Jake Fromm went to Georgia in the NFL. Tate Martell went to Ohio State, transferred to Miami. Season 2 was Justin Fields, Sam Hartman, Real Mitchell. Those other 2 guys I think are still in college. And
What did
then
they talk
season
about?
3
It's just documenting their story.
Oh.
Season 3 was Lance Legendre, Spencer Rattler, Nick Scalzo, and that's it. And I think there's a season 4 coming.
Wow.
I'm gonna watch that.
Maybe Justin Fields does pan out. We'll see. I mean,
Hope so, man.
I hope he does too.
Yeah, it's an interesting show. If you ever get a chance to watch it, it's a pretty.
I forgot. I'm trying to figure out what this show. You guys watched that show about the JUCO school?
Last Chance U.
Yeah.
Great
basketball.
Incredible.
Yeah, I did watch it.
Beautiful.
Coach Mosley.
Yeah, he's crazy, bro. I like him though. It's Joe Hampton and
I wish I had a coach like that.
I looked them
playing
up too. I
basketball.
looked all of them up too. They're actually doing all pretty well.
Joe
in
Hampton
college.
is playing with Isaiah Washington now.
And he was like
Where?
Long Beach State.
Long Beach.
Oh.
He put up 10 and 5. He's doing his
Yeah.
thing. They're all actually not
Deshaun
bad.
Hyler is at Sacramento State.
Sacramento State, yeah.
Yeah,
and
so
then the big kid went to USC.
No, he's not big, but 6'5" kid.
Yeah.
He's actually because he was like a highly touted
Yeah.
guy coming out. Yeah,
He could play.
he'll be there next year.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, 2 of them go to
I know what you're
yeah,
talking
I forgot. They were just playing in the tournament. I freaking forgot.
Iowa State?
No, I don't think it's high. They not that high.
Minnesota?
I want to say Minnesota. I don't remember.
I
I'm
know
gonna
what
look it
you're
up.
talking
Yeah,
about.
they were just playing.
Yeah. The big kid that looked like Mo Bamba.
He looks crazy.
Yeah.
I forgot the team that he went to. I know who you're talking about.
It was a
though.
great show.
Yeah, it's really great. I hope they get a season.
The
3 of it.
production of that is just incredible.
Incredible journey.
Yeah, it sucked when I found out that COVID.
Yo,
ruined their season,
when I
bro.
found out, I
was
thought
like,
I
damn,
thought they
I
were
thought
gonna be like in the
win.
chip. When I found out COVID, I was like, bro, what the hell?
I was like, yo, that's true. COVID did hit.
I didn't
bro.
even
I
think
didn't know
about
it was
that
about
way.
last
Me either.
year
I
though.
totally forgot about it.
I thought it was about this year. That's the only reason I watched it. And then they said COVID hit, and they started crying and shit. And I was mad as hell. I was like, what the hell did I watch
And
this
that really
for?
that screws them too, because that's a big chance for them to.
It was good
get
though. A lot of
evaluated.
them still got their offers. I was
Yeah.
happy for that.
Yeah, a lot of people's stories that end up good. But, hopefully these rookie quarterbacks do pan out. I'm hoping the best for them. We just have to be patient with
Agreed.
just
It's like I was saying about
people in
Moses
general.
Brown before.
I think now people are way too accelerated and they give up on people too easily. I think,
Agreed.
we got to just relax and hold our horses. So, okay, this is going to do it for episode 80 of the podcast. For everybody that has been listening and watching on YouTube, we appreciate you, or on streaming platforms. If you guys would like to rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts and write a review, thank you guys for listening. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Pick Aside Podcast and on Twitter at Pick Aside Pod. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time. I don't want to say this on a podcast, but that guy that went to